Good evening. It's good? Yeah, I didn't mean to scare anybody with banging on the gavel, but we are going to get started. We are a few minutes past 5:30, so good evening to all of you. We will call this regular board meeting for Wednesday, August 9th, 2023, to order at 5:33 p.m. Melissa, roll call, please.
Director Bankus? Here. Director Daniels?
Present.
Director Jorgensen?
Here.
Director Loma?
Director Loma will be here in 5 or 10 minutes.
Director Malpacum?
Here.
Director Nelson?
Present.
Director Ott?
Here.
So we have 6 board members in attendance, and I expect Director Loma to join, as he indicated to me by text that he will be here in about 10 minutes. Welcome to all of you. It's good to see the energy and excitement in this room. It's palpable. Beginning of the new year is always an exciting time. So I'm sure that there are a lot of fresh and new staff in our buildings and students too. So, and I see a dog that's walking up into our boardroom. So welcome all. Last year at this time, we celebrated our 150-year anniversary, and at that time we had a renewed commitment to excellence in education and service, and we collectively as a board double down on our board priorities of student success, staff investment, parent engagement. And you see the banner that is right behind me. That is our commitment as District 11 to student success, staff investment, parent engagement. And each one of those has specific metrics. And over the last year, we focused on, and I am proud of what this board accomplished over the last year. We focused on success, academic achievement, staff investment, ensuring that our staff receives high quality professional development and compensation, and also making sure that we engage with our parents. We recognize that our parents are the first teachers for our students, and we want to make sure that parental authority is recognized in the district. There were a lot of accomplishments last year, and foremost of all, we ensured that there was a culture of accountability, starting with our superintendent, who's the one employee of the school board. And the board conducted a rigorous evaluation of the superintendent at the end of last year, which is a public document and is available. So the foundation for excellence was set last year. The systems and structures were put into place. And I've had the opportunity over the last week to attend some of the meetings where our staff have for the kickoff events and things of that nature, and the excitement and the energy in those meetings and what Superintendent Gall shared in some of those meetings, it's palpable. So ultimately, we, the board, and the superintendent and all of us are judged by outcomes. And we have put the systems and structures in place to demand excellence and to ensure excellence for all of our students. And the coming months will stand testimony for all the hard work of our staff, and I am confident that the district is headed and poised for success and growth in this coming year. So welcome to all of you, and welcome to the new members who are part of the D11 family now. That's what we are. We are a family. So with that, let's take a moment of silence. Please join me. Thank you. Director Jorgensen, can you please make the motion to adopt the agenda?
There we go. I move that the Board of Education adopts the agenda as amended by removing action items D1, contract awards, and D2, budget transfer, appropriations, and FTE approvals, as there are no contract awards, budget transfers, appropriations, or FTE approvals.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call, please, Melissa.
Strange. Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The agenda has been adopted as proposed. Pledge of Allegiance. May I please have the study abroad students, and I met several of you just a few minutes back. Could you please come up to the front to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Flags that way. Go ahead, ma'am, you get to start us. Go for it.
Thank you. That was a wonderful way to start the school year. Superintendent Gall, the school spotlight is going to be Summer Bridge, Study Abroad, and Jumpstart. I'll hand it over to you.
Great. Thank you, President Malpacum. Welcome back to all our board directors. It is so great to see you all again. I hope your summer was restful. Our school spotlight will be all the work we did as educators over the summer. And so school was not closed to our community. Welcome to our community as well. School was not closed at the end of May. School just transitioned into different ways for us to find ways to learn. And so we tagged this summer the summer of U, because June, July, and August all have the letter U in it, and they each had individual programs which also happen to have, for alliterative purposes, the letter U. So we'll talk first a little bit about Summer Bridge, and then secondly we'll talk about Study Abroad. Thank you all for our now internationally traveled students to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which I think is kind of a full circle moment for our students there. And then we'll talk briefly just about Jumpstart. So although we normally do school spotlight to highlight one school, we thought what a great way to just get a complete picture for what happens in District 11 over the summertime. So this might take us a little bit longer than our normal 10 minutes for school spotlight. But we thought it was really important that not just the board, in both the policies and the dollars that you all programmed, feel that return on investment, but also for our community to see that we are a district that just won't stop. We will do whatever it takes to ensure that our children continue to get opportunities to see the world, to exceed their potential, and to actually be the inheritors of the next generation of the great world that we live in. So I'm going to ask Tamara Acevedo and Brenda Duran to come forward and talk a little bit about Summer Bridge. We got a chair right for you. Anybody else on front there? Go ahead. You want the clicker? Did they have it?
In the area of Summer Bridge and summer programming, talk about at the time. If you move to the next slide, Melissa. I got it. Oh, if we move to the next slide, yeah. I just want to remind us, for our purposes in D11, and connected to the research that we know that's been done across and pre-pandemic and beyond. Expanded academic learning, we think of extended school year, and we think of extended day. And how do we increase the amount of instruction, quality instruction, the amount of time to strive what we're shooting for, at least minimally a year and a half growth. And you can see specifically with Summer Bridge, we are talking about our ultimate goal of extending the school year. And right now we've done that with 4 weeks in the summer. Basically for 3 main purposes. You can see here: to reduce the learning loss that we see often from May to August. That's according to research and our own research within the district. Lessen the time for our teachers spend reviewing past content so they can get right into the meat of the year. And that, of course, helps all of our teachers prepare their students for the school year. So very important to note, when we talked to the board, when Ms. Duran talked to the board in the spring, I want to say, to talk about the changes we were making with summer programming, we talked about what we were able to accomplish and really hit home this summer. But then what our ultimate goals are moving towards. And so I would expect these objectives to increase and change as we're able to implement some of those changes. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Duran.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, Board President, Dr. Mel Packham, Superintendent Gall, Board Directors. Thank you for giving me yet another opportunity to come and present to you about Summer Bridge and Jumpstart. Seems like it was just a couple of days ago that I was up here giving you the preparations and logistics of Summer Bridge, and now I'm back actually giving you results. So I'd like to begin with the numbers of students that attended and the staff that actually worked the program. Elementary, we had approximately 1,049 students attend, middle school 234, high school 738, with the focus being on credit recovery. Our total attendance was 2019. More or less, I kind of did meet the goal, so Dr. Mel Packham, we might have to do a wager for next year. Staff involved, building principals, we had 24 principals, 312 staff, and we had about 105 ESP professionals. We're still not done with Jumpstart, so we're still accumulating those numbers. We have 3 more sites, as you'll see later on, that are still doing Jumpstart for kindergarten. As you will see, as I worked with the enrollment office, we collected attendance rate percentages, which you can see there on the chart. Most of our schools in the 4 quadrants are between 91 and 98% average attendance, which is wonderful. The overall average is about 93%. We have a few sites who fell below. A couple of factors that I did notice is that Mondays always had less attendance than the other days of the week, as well as June 19th. And so that was very low attendance, but pretty good numbers. So before I pass this on to Dr. Colicky, I really want you to keep in mind the importance and the correlation of attendance, school attendance, to student outcomes. And so with that, I'm going to pass that to Dr. Colicky.
Thank you and welcome back. Excited to be here. So get to kick it off with some pretty cool data here. So I'm pretty excited to share and talk through the data that was collected and what it means with Summer Bridge. So we'll look at this in typical fashion, reading, ELA, and math. So we'll break those up. And it's K8 are the assessments that we're looking at right here. So what you're looking at on this slide is a summer pre-test to summer post-test. And you can see that it's broken up into performance bands. Those performance bands are aligned to state benchmark bands, so they're normed to that level. The real takeaway here is that our Summer Bridge really aligned in efficacy with the literature. So literature on Summer Bridge talking about stemming learning loss, keeping students engaged with learning. I think we can say that that was met in our program. Our lowest performing students significantly improved their reading proficiency in Summer Bridge. So if you look at the lowest band, so that dark red at the bottom, far below grade level is how we describe that band of students. The number in that pool of students decreased 3.7%, which is a significant number. Below grade level, so the next band up, so more District 11 red, the number of students from that band decreased 1.9%. And then approaching expectations, number of students grew 5.4%. So all of those are significant numbers and significant growth. And one interesting point is that the approaching expectations growing by that much indicates, while the below grade level actually decreased, indicates that we had several many students that probably popped up two different bands. So from far below grade level to approaching expectations. Now, certainly we want to monitor this and watch the longevity and the stickiness of this effect, if you will. So we'll be taking a look at a matched sample of these students with our fall benchmark and moving into our winter and do a longer longitudinal study. But this is pretty exciting to see in a relatively short period of time. When we look at math, again, aligned to state benchmarks, same type of banding. Our lowest performing students significantly, and I want to highlight significantly, improved their math proficiency rate in Summer Bridge. So our far below grade level, so that orange at the very bottom, the number of students in that pool decreased 8.7%. That is large. Below grade level, so the next level up, the number of students grew 2.4%. But we want to highlight that those students, many of those students are moving up from the one level. Within math, it's very common to see that level-to-level jump, where ELA we might see 1 or 2 levels. Approaching expectations grew 2.6%. So we really did hit the mark for the general population that hit Summer Bridge in definitely definitely keeping engagement high, and we'll watch the degree to which it stemmed learning loss, but these findings are pretty positive to start. If we look at some of our disaggregated groups, so I want to highlight when we look at the grade levels, I looked at 8th grade and 5th grade, those being critical times for jumping into middle school material, especially 5th to 6th grade math, because you're moving into more algebraic thinking, and then 8th to 9th grade in both ELA probably there, because writing becomes such a big part of that 9th grade year, as well as math. So when we look at the takeaway, Summer Bridge was particularly effective for our subgroup student populations, especially our students of color. So if we look first at our subgroup population of grade, 8th grade students, those students scoring far below grade level decreased, again, 8.5%. 8th grade students scoring below grade level decreased 8.2%, and 8th grade students moving into approaching grew 11.3%. So when we disaggregate, the sample size becomes smaller, so the variability in the percentages becomes larger, but these are still pretty cool numbers. They are very, very exciting to see within a program that really was targeting these students, especially at the far below grade level band. That was really a real push, and we'll speak to that later, but that was a real push for recruiting. So it's exciting to see that those students and families were well served. Students of color, this is still in reading proficiency or ELA, those students scoring far below grade level decreased 3.2%, and we moved those 5.4% of those students grew into approaching within ELA reading. Looking at the same type of breakdown for math, looking again now 5th grade and 8th grade. Summer Bridge was again particularly effective for those students populations, especially our students of color. In 5th grade then, I checked this number multiple times because it's large, and I confirmed it with also our star folks. So 5th grade students scoring far below grade level decreased by 18.9%. 8th grade students scoring far below grade level decreased by 12.7%. And then 8th grade students moving into approaching grew 15.5. So those grade level bands, it will be really, really important for us to continue to monitor and watch how this effect translates to school year performance and school year growth with these specific students. Students of color scoring far below decreased 10.2%, so they moved into the next bands up, and then the approaching expectations grew 3.3%. So again, I'm very excited to share these results with you. Absolutely critical is the next follow-up step. Good data produces more questions, right? So we're going to be looking and continuing to monitor kind of this growth and this development over the course of the year. I do believe, though, from the perspective of data, that our investments over the course of several years in this program are paying off in dividends. And this, I want to remind you, nationally normed test, it's the STAR benchmark test. So these are the same results that we are looking at in our fall to winter to spring type of testing session. So I'll end with, I do believe that we will be able to pull out strategies and tactics from this treatment that we can actually scale up and apply across the school year. And I'm excited to hear from the student and principal perspective next. So thank you for your time, and as always, I'm happy to answer any questions at a later point. Thank you. Okay. I'm staying up. Okay, so I get 20 more minutes, right? Nice. So on the academic support, so on the high school end, you notice that we did K through 8 on those last slides. So on the high school end, it was an academic support in the sense of getting those students that are right on the bubble, right on the border between flunking flunking a class and then moving into a passing grade. And so when you look at across our 4 traditionals, students earned a total of 506 total credits, meaning that they were able to capture that additional credit to move them into a passing grade. That represents a Coronado 95% of the attempted credits to be earned were earned. At Doherty, it was 356 out of a total of 457 attempted, and so that gives us a 78%. At Palmer, same idea, 451 out of a total sample of 686, and that is 66 completion of attempted credits. So again, when I say completion of attempted credits, it is those students that were able to successfully move their grade up out of the F range into out of F or D into the next grade up. And then at Mitchell, even though the sample is a little bit smaller, we have 83 total credits earned, but that represents a 95% completion of attempted credits. So this is a success. This is very similar to the model that we used last year. So it is it's a model that we've grown on and learned from, and I think it shows just how many courses were remediated and given the opportunity to move forward and students moving forward in their progress. Most of these involved multiple, one student gaining multiple credit, so that was a very positive thing, and but overall a positive outcome for this academic support within our credit recovery type of work. All right, now the fun stuff.
Thank you, Dr. Colicky. I know I put you on the spot, so thank you for doing that. I'm elated. As a matter of fact, when Dr. Colicky sent me the scores, I sent back an email saying, really, are you serious? And now if that would have been me collecting the data, you could have said, well, maybe it's iffy. But that's Dr. Colicky through a normed assessment. So I'm elated because something is definitely working. I am just the coordinator. I just put the logistical pieces together. I have leaders, I have teachers, and I have a student here that can testify to the work that was put into this program, to the strategies that were used during this program. It is not an ESSER focus program. It is a strategic strategy, first best instructional focused program, and that's what is getting us results. Definitely. So I like to start with Miss Stacy Brisbane, who is our principal, who, by the way, had Fremont, Keller, King, and Grant. We collapsed 4 sites into one building. That takes immense leadership and coordination with those other 3 principals to create a program that is successful. And so, Principal Brisbane, could you please come up and give us highlights as to the great strategies that you implemented during our summer bridge?
Time do I have to, like 2 seconds, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. So just-
Hi, how are you guys? Good to see you. So we were very lucky. We actually had CLC join us for Summer Bridge, so we had an opportunity to have Children's Literacy Center come in for an hour, work with our kids for an hour every single day. One-on-one tutoring was fantastic. We also had air tutoring come in, and we got a chance for Keller, that's the first experience we've had with air tutoring, but Fremont uses it on a regular basis, so it was fantastic to have. Great to see the one-on-one. It's also great to see that interaction between a child and an adult on the other side of the screen still participating, which, as you know, with kids, you kind of wonder sometimes how that's going to flow. But air tutoring has been fantastic. And then we had take flight tutors come in. So we had 4 take flight tutors come in. They had training, and they were therapists come in, and they got to pull kids and go through the whole first book through Summer Bridge, which is a 20-lesson book. In Summer Bridge, that's only 20 days. It was pretty fantastic to see. Our kids love the partnerships that came in. The district set some partnership up for us, and we got to have Cool Science in. We had the Parks and Rec come in, and it was really great for them to say, this is why we do what we do. This is why we do math. This is why we do reading. And so the kids were very engaged. This one here, you can see up here, our teachers from different schools came together and did a thematic units for every single week. And so they were taking exercise balls and making drums out of them, and just a really cohesive group of staff. They were just fantastic. And the fantastic teachers you put in front of kids is where you get the fantastic scores that you get from kids. And so we're very privileged to have them and very lucky to have them. Yeah, all right. Thanks.
I wished I could present more leaders to you tonight. We don't have time because they did a phenomenal job. The next leader I would like to bring to the building, or to the front, sorry, is Anna Stewart. She was the principal of Summer Bridge from a kindergarten through 8th grade program, which is not an easy feat to pull together. So a lot of systems in place, a lot of early planning with Monroe's principal. And so I'm going to let her highlight some of the strategies that they did. And this is Tucker. He also played a good role.
Yes, excellent. Good evening, Board, Superintendent Gall. I was tasked to answer 2 questions in 2 minutes, so I'm going to talk really fast because my first question is, what was the best part of our program? And I could not just highlight one thing. One of the great things is that we hosted the first ever K-8, not 2 schools operating in the same campus, but a true integrated K-8 system. What I really loved about this is that we were able to capitalize on opportunities that we don't see in traditional K-5 middle school, high school departmentalization right now. One of my favorite pictures there in the bottom right, you can see one of our middle school students. That's a 7th grade student working with one of our 1st grade students. We were able to take students that may be struggling or don't have the confidence to be reading at their level yet, but they felt confident going and reading to those students. So as long as we can get kids reading in any environment, we were able to unite our community through a K-8 model. I was able to pull in students from not just our feeder elementaries and not just Monroe, but because we opened it up, if your student was invited at the middle school level and you have younger siblings, we will take your entire family. And so I was able to pull kids from the charter school down the street and all the way across the southern region of D11 schools. So just that community partnership, we were able to really build up on that as well. We took a project-based learning approach in what we did. So it was fun to see the kids, just these light bulbs when we would introduce the new skill and new concept and how everything integrated. And they were like, oh, well, we did this in math, and now we're doing this. And it was a beautiful thing to just make the learning fun and see how everything was connected, and then ended it with a performance assessment. So on the very last day, we had a showcase where our elementary students got to present first to our middle school students. The students were there, and you can see there in the pictures as well, they were genuinely interested in the students sharing their work, right? Then we flipped it, and then later in the afternoon, we were able to let this middle school showcase their projects as well. They got to actually put on a carnival for the elementary based off of their performance assessment. We invited families in as well, and we almost had 100% participation from our families at our showcase. So lots of involvement and a lot of excitement around that. And really, I got a lot of positive feedback about our targeted approach to the academics. Without all of the extra, if you will, and without having to prioritize on their own and being able to say, hey, this is what we're focusing on. This group of students, this is their need, and with those small class sizes and with the resources allocated, and I'm really wanting to talk about the human capital that we were able to allocate appropriately in the Summer Bridge program, that is really what led to the academic success that we saw. So if I had to choose one thing that I would love to continue in the Summer Bridge program is I love the K-8 model. I think that this has a lot of potential that we haven't even been able to tap into yet, but I would love to see this as something that we can continue to aspire to. Not only did we see the academic and social emotional supports of that, I just saw a familiar face. So not only did we see that, but I mean, I also just heard from the teachers that it was just fun again. Teaching was fun, learning was fun. Without all the extra pressure and with a very intentional focus, we were able to see some very positive results. So that was our program. Yeah.
Okay, another leader that has demonstrated systems, structure. She is bringing 2 teachers that we have to give accolades to because they are the ones in the trenches. They are the ones that are delivering the instruction. So I'd like to present Principal Butcher. Could you please come forward with your 2 teachers?
Good evening, Superintendent Gall and Board of Directors. I've had the privilege to serve both the Queen Palmer and the Rogers community at the Rogers campus this summer. I'm just going to speak to the structures and systems that is a strength, and they live in the trenches every day. This is Paula Denning, kindergarten teacher at Queen Palmer, and Adita Kargas, fifth grade teacher at Queen Palmer. So I'm going to speak to the success of it, being able to merge the two schools together. We did start at 183 and did end the end of the year at about 132 students. I could speak to some of the level of decrease in that had to do with it was at that 4-week mark. Some were ready to go on vacation. Some had some, you only got 4 or 5 weeks left until the summer is over. So a lot of them had those plans, and some had other surgery kind of things that led to that last week. So, but outside of that, I believe strongly in best first instruction. So the expectation was that all of the Rogers and Queen Palmer teachers had to have targets, criteria of what mastery is going to look like. So if I ask students, they know what they were learning and why. That is an expectation. So as we did instructional rounds, they were targeted on BFI as if it was a regular school year, but we embedded what they're going to talk about is some of those wraparound pieces to make it fun and interesting at Summer Bridge. I also know that we did a lot of ongoing formative assessments and daily exit tickets, and we progress monitor that for over the course of 20 days because we were given the high leverage standards, and our teachers were intentionally planning to those high leverage standards, and by doing that helped them narrow the focus to ensure that we closed the opportunity gaps, which is why we were able to show the growth that we did in 20 days. I mean, you only have 20 days, so every minute matters. But these two rockstar teachers are going to talk about the how. I'm just talking about the what and the why.
So I'm Paula Denning, and I teach kindergarten. And I've talked to other teachers about how they felt about Summer Bridge. Being able to teach kindergarten at Summer Bridge, we were able to continue the education the kids had received during the school year. And it was very rewarding because when we did our pre-assessments at the beginning of Summer Bridge, after 2 weeks of not having school, our kids had already started sliding. But by the end of Summer Bridge, our kids had made up that slide and was already moving forward, getting ready for first grade. Because I have talked to other teachers, and they say, hey, gosh, I thought your child or your children were at this point, and they're not there right now in first grade. So I think that extra 4 weeks is really going to help. We did offer STEAM, which this year we didn't have a STEAM teacher, so the teachers were in charge of planning that. It was very, very exciting. I learned so many new things about STEAM that I want to incorporate this year in my classroom. But the kids were so excited. It kept them coming to school because they knew that, okay, we're going to be doing rainbows this week. So our whole theme was on rainbows, and they were able to make a rainbow in a jar, and so we had a different theme every week. And we did have RAC, which is Random Acts of Kindness, and we had a teacher that had the kids a couple times a week, and she taught different lessons, and they were very engaging. We had PE, and our PE teacher, she was awesome. The kids look forward to going and doing different activities with her. I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah, and then we had field trips. So our first graders were able to go fishing, and they got a fishing pole, and they got other beautiful prizes, and learned a lot about fishing and how to, cast. And then we went to Garden of the Gods and had a docent that took us around, and the kids were able to learn about the geology here in Colorado Springs. And I think that was the best parts of Summer Bridge, but it was very, very exciting to be able to watch our kids and then just be around some of our teammates for an extra 4 weeks. Yeah. So I'll let Ada go.
Okay, I just wanted to explain really quick our shirts. Our theme for this year is rock stars, and so today we all came in
Because we're going to have a
rock star year, and we're rock stars, so we dressed like this today. So I'm Adita Cargis, and I'm the 5th grade teacher at Queen Palmer, and I also taught Summer Bridge and taught 5th grade there too. Had a very similar experience, like Ms. Denning said. We had the high expectations, the no excuse attitude. It was business as usual. It seemed like it just flowed right into an extended school year. We had all the, I think the best part for me was just being able to take those students that have struggled and have fought so hard and were starting to slide back, but been able to give them more one-on-one, I mean literally one-on-one because our groups were small, and being able to push them farther than things started to click, and so they were pushed farther and more ready than ever. Even I had half of my SPED kids there, and watching them all of a sudden take off. So I really, I think that was one of the best things. And the one thing we talked about wanting more of, we actually talked about maybe even having some more days. Not a full, of course, full summer, but maybe even adding another week or two just to do some more and bringing in some more of our community into our school. We had a lot going on, but I think bringing some more community things to the kids, especially for the intermediate, it's harder to convince them to come to, Summer Bridge and explain that it's not what they think it is. And giving them some of the highlights that we're going to be doing was exciting, but maybe adding some more. So those were the things that we talked about. Thank you for your time.
So lastly, I'm saving the best for last, is a voice from one of our students. And this is Assistant Principal Heighton, who brought a student with her, and I think this is the most powerful voice that you're going to hear in the room. So Assistant Principal Heighton, could you please come forward?
Good evening. I have to lift that up. I am not going to take any of this stage because really it's Gabby Hinton, who is right here, who's a superstar, and she plays volleyball, so she missed a little bit of tryouts tonight, but the coach is super awesome. So come on up, Gabby.
Okay, I'm Gabby. I'm here to tell you how Summer Bridge impacted me in a positive way. I'm going into my junior year at Doherty. I've done Summer Bridge both my freshman and my sophomore year. Summer Bridge is a program that I highly recommend because it shows you that you can do the work and you do know what you are doing, but you just choose not to. Summer Bridge also helped me create a better bond with a lot of teachers, including Coach Snow. It helped me be able to show Coach Snow that I am capable of getting my work done and getting good grades when I choose to put my mind to it. And again, it showed me that I simply was just choosing not to put forth the correct effort. But Summer Bridge has a great support system I have been able to lean on, and they don't let you give up. They see the potential in every student, and they push them to greatness. They truly do help you succeed. It was good to know that I wasn't the only person in this position, so I highly recommend Summer Bridge for the students that really need it because it helps you stay on track to graduate, and it helps you make up credits so you maintain your original graduation date. Summer Bridge has made me feel like I had a chance to get myself together, and because of that, I can stand here and assure you that I will not be in Summer Bridge next year. Thank you.
She also has excellent taste in clothing, if you didn't notice. And so I'm going to pass this on to our next part of the presentation.
Yeah, let's do just a couple of Summer Bridge questions first, and then we'll move on to study
Sure.
abroad.
Comprehensive presentation that you put together for the board. And I also want to thank all the Summer Bridge staff that participated in this. They are giving up a month of their summer to ensure that our students are on track to graduate or are growing academically. So when you're talking about rock stars, the teachers are the rock stars out there. And I'm glad that they were able to participate and make this a productive Summer Bridge from what I see. Questions or comments from the board members, quickly. Director Jorgensen.
Yeah, just recaps are just amazing. The partnerships, the fantastic teachers equals fantastic learners and results. And then Ms. Stewart, the K-8 thing, I think that's definitely an untapped potential based on what you shared tonight. So just very exciting. I know based on last year, Dr. K, having data this year, having effective results, I couldn't be more pleased in allocating money for a program and seeing the results tonight. So thank you so much to everybody involved.
Is it okay if I add a little to what you said?
Sure.
Because I think that you keyed in on the parts of the presentation that were really important. And with Brenda coming on board and looking at the overall work that had been done, and we talked about the presentation she had done with the changes that would be made, I just want to highlight those for you that I think we will interrogate more, like that helped to lead to the increase we saw in achievement there, with more to come. So one was common curriculum with high leverage standards. Principal Butcher talked about that focus on high leverage standards and assessments. And I want to give her a shout out. She also led from a higher level with helping to define assessment systems even more. So thank you for that. The other place we made adjustments were streamlined sites. So we went from 37 sites to 24 in an area model, which allowed us to leverage and pull together like the K-8 model, which Anna did an amazing job leading, and also make our sites' instructional pieces more consistent along with the common curriculum. Principal Stacy Brisbane talked about the addition of tutoring in math and literacy. We focused on grades 4 and 5, and I think you could hear in some of the highlights with the data that Dr. Kolicky pulled out some incredible results in those grade levels as well. And then ensuring, since we couldn't make much of a change in terms of the amount of time, length of the time of the program, the 4 weeks, Dr. Melpackham, you talked about, giving your time as a teacher. That's a lot, in your summer. We're very appreciative of that. But we did make sure to make adjustments to the actual length of the day and the amount of time of instructions within the day. 5.5 hours, which included the enrichment piece connected to that. So really important changes.
Thank you. Director Bankus.
Yes, I want to add and to say that this is really exciting. When some of us came on the board 2 years ago, we were looking for this excitement. We were looking for moving our district ahead, and for all this conversation that we've had about student achievement, you guys are the proof of the pudding that says that we can push achievement while we're still making sure that our kids get the social emotional learning and guidance that they need in order to be resilient, in order for them to be confident, in order for them to be able to talk to people who are maybe older when you're talking elementary to middle, and having the confidence of our middle school students being able to work with our younger students in a positive interaction. So many things were going on. Thank you to all of you. It's exciting.
Director Nelson.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on Director Bankus's comment that the character building that the student spoke to, I'm sorry, I forget your name. Remind me. Gabby, thank you for just sharing. One of your takeaways was working hard and that you could accomplish what you wanted to through that hard work. And so to me, that's just a huge reward in itself through this program. So thank you for sharing that. And then I have a question for Dr. K. Could you provide a little context in when we're looking at all of these percentages, what is statistically significant? I remember at one point you said, a 3.2% increase, and that's a big deal. So can you just help ground us a little in having some context of what all these numbers actually mean?
Yeah, so all of those, with the overall results, all of those were statistically significant. As we get into disaggregated, as the sample sizes get smaller, then we need a larger effect to see but all of the overall results were highly, highly significant, yeah.
Okay.
Be beyond just random
So if we
chance.
were looking at one of, not the disaggregated, but the overall picture. Yeah, let me find an example here.
David, we talked about that a little bit, anything like 1 to 2%.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Would be like at
Okay, just for people who can't hear, because she's not at a mic, anything from a 1 to 2% would be, is that what you, go ahead.
Yeah, so in the overall results, something around 2% or above would be a significant.
Okay, thank you. That
result.
helps to have that context.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
Okay, seeing no further comments on this topic, and I'm going to summarize this quickly. Thank you for all the hard work that you guys put into this. While you were making this presentation, I was sitting here in this board dais recollecting where we were 2 years back and the Summer Bridge data that was presented at that time. This is night and day compared to that. There is a clear sense of structure, there is a clear sense of strategy, there is a clear sense of organization, all of which we didn't even have any comparative data at that time. 2 years back, we said or what the administration presented to us at that time was, we are glad to have Summer Bridge, we are glad to open this. We are first and foremost an institution of educational learning, and this provides data to confirm that. But it's not only the educational learning. What teachers shared with us was the fun and the excitement students have. Not only students, but colleagues being there together, field trips. The pictures showed all the projects that they were involved in. But I am clearly excited by what all of you presented and the students here and Gabby too out there. So it starts with a clear setup plan put together by the leadership and then going on down with you, Ms. Duran, and down there to the school level. So this shows to me that even if we have just 4 weeks, that's only 20 days, we can achieve something phenomenal, out there. So this is exciting. This shows to me, I started the meeting off by saying we are all judged by outcomes. And these are the outcomes that we are looking for. Students having fun, students showing growth and academic achievement, excitement in the buildings. So thank you for all the work that you put in. Somebody mentioned high expectations and no excuse attitude. That's all we are about. High expectations for our students and no excuse attitude. What a phenomenal way to start off the school year. Thank you.
Wait till next year.
Yeah.
I
Moving
am
on.
super excited to transition to our July summer review focus, which was our study abroad. Now, truth be told, one of the groups was actually abroad in June, but the students that traveled to France were actually there in July. I've shared this story before. My first time west of the Delaware River was my flight to the United States Air Force Academy. And so I believe that that there was nothing outside of my world that didn't exist in between Philadelphia and New York City and the Jersey Shore. That was the triangle of which I grew up in, and I thought that was the entirety of the world. I'm proud to say that I've been to over 36 countries since then. Obviously, the Air Force had a lot to do with that. But the first time you travel outside of the United States will change your perspective on everything. Now, it might not make you a globalist, it might make you an anti-globalist, but it will change your perspective on everything. And so the idea, I want to thank the board for affording us the opportunity through the dollars, through the vacancy fund balance that we were able to allocate towards this program. We will be building this program into a permanent part of our budget. We will figure out exactly what is that criteria, but I could not be more honored to bring to the podium right now Claudette Murtha, who actually put this program together on a wing and a prayer, and I think she has delivered it in spades. So Claudette, to you.
Thank you. I have to lower this, Hillary. Okay. So good evening, Superintendent Gall and the District 11 Board. I'm so excited to be here and present this to you. We did a lot of great work this summer. And what I heard from the last presentation is that we had community and schools come together, and you will also see that in our District 11 study abroad, where all 5 of our high schools were represented in this program. So it's really cool. All right, if you can go to the next one. Oh, do I click myself? Okay. Okay, I didn't know. So I just want to start off by thanking a few departments in the district. It takes a lot of work to make this happen. When you have a brand new program going into place that's never been done before, we pushed on some systems that we really had to think about. How are we going to do this? What accounting strings do we use? How do we do foreign currency? Things like that. So I just want to really quickly thank the procurement department, Rosa Garcia, Lisa Martinez, and Anna Diaz, and Mark Capps. I was in their office all the time this spring, and some of the times I would just walk in there and say, hey, I need to answer this question. So, and then also to the finance department, Connie Pickren and Maria McComb. They were wonderful too, trying to figure out a lot of the logistics this summer. And of course, our parents of the kids that went. There was a lot of emails and just trusting me and the district to take their kids across the world, basically. So for 2 weeks is a long period of time. So I want to thank them as well. All right. So, as Superintendent Gall mentioned, we had 2 trips go, and this wasn't your normal go on a 10-day or 7-day vacation trip on a bus and see tourist sites. These students spent half of their time on the trip in language and culture-based classes. So our University of Oaxaca trip, and we're going to practice pronouncing those names in just a minute because we're going to play a game, was June 17th through July 1st, and we had 18 students and 2 staff members go on that trip. And then they did 30 hours of university coursework, and I will show you a copy of one of the transcripts from one of the students in just a moment. The trip also involved a homestay, so these students were living, breathing, eating the culture and the language 24/7. So we partnered with a company called Arcos to vet the families that the students were staying with, make sure that these families have hosted foreign students before. The students were well fed, of course, and well taken care of. The students had to learn how to get from their homestay to the school, which some of that was walking, some of that was learning how to take the city bus system or looking on Google Maps and figuring out how to get there. Don't worry, they were always with a partner, so they were never wandering around a city by themselves. And then they also had daily cultural excursions to museums, art galleries, all kinds of different things that were available in the communities at each of those spots. The group that went to Oaxaca got to learn how to do 4 different Mexican dances. So that was something that they would not get maybe in a classroom. So we did that in June. We got back July 1st, and then a few days later we were off to Biarritz, which is in southern France, with a group of 10 students, and I went on that trip with them. They also did 30 hours of language instruction in the homestay as well, and then we had daily cultural excursions. So they were busy. They were up and at 'em by 8 o'clock in the morning, sometimes a little bit earlier, and then sometimes not going to bed until late in the evening because they were busy exploring and learning about the culture. You can see some pictures of some of our kids. The picture on the left is a classroom in Oaxaca, and then you can see 2 of our French students. They're getting ready to try escargot in the classroom at the language school in Biarritz. So hopefully they're going to tell you maybe about that in a moment. So again, the students earned something for this trip, an academic earning, which is huge. They're probably the only kids in the state of Colorado that were able to earn university credits at the University of Oaxaca. They got 30 hours of instruction, so that transcript can be taken to a university and get them credit already for that language learning. And then in France, at the Biarritz Language Institute, they also had the 30 hours of instruction, and it was under the European system. So I think you'll notice on there the, let's see, this is Hannah's. She's in a B1 level, so they have a system where it's like A, B, and C. So that's like an intermediate mid of language learning. She would be able to take that certificate to a college university and be placed in an upper level class or get credit for that as well. So all the students got those certificates or transcripts. All right, so the application and decision process, again, this is the first year we've done this, so I had to come up with this very quickly, but it went really well. We were looking at kids that had had at least 2 or 3 years of language experience, and we had to alter that a little bit because our students that attend Odyssey, because that's a pathway system into a community college, they would have only had the equivalent to 2 years. So semester 1 is a year and then semester 2 as a freshman. So those kids that went from Odyssey were really only freshmen in high school going into their sophomore year. And then the other students from Palmer and Coronado and Doherty, Mitchell, they are all going to be juniors and seniors this year. So they had 3 years of language. They had to submit some letters of recommendation. Again, I didn't know the kids before. Now we're family, but I didn't know them. So they submitted some letters of recommendation. They had to answer some essay questions, and then they had to be able to obtain a passport. So they got to learn how to do all that. That was an adult skill that's very important. And then, of course, we needed parental support to do this as well. We had 3 trip meetings before each trip where we got to know each other. We went over the rules and the itineraries of the trips, the expectations. And you can see in the pictures, the top picture there is the dancing lesson there. Oh, and by the way, I just forgot this until now. We were only reserved to do an hour. And they loved it so much that we went ahead and continued. Was it 2 hours or 2.5 hours? Yeah, they danced for like 2 to 2.5 hours. It was great. It's fantastic. And then the bottom left picture is the group in Biarritz in France, and we walked up a lot of stairs to the top of it's like a fortress city called Saint-Jean-Port-de-Pied. And so we walked up there and took a group picture while we were trying to collect our breath, or at least I was. So you can see there the data that stands out. We had, for a couple of students, this was their first airplane trip. We had a couple of students that had never seen the ocean before. We had students that had never walked into a cathedral in a big building before, or had seen architecture from Europe, or had been standing in line. And always in the United States, you're able to understand what's going on. And then one student said, I can't understand everything that's happening. It's completely different for them. So just lots of life-changing experiences for them as well for these trips. And a lot of what we did really ties into our D11 graduate profile. And I just picked out some of those at the bottom there that I saw the kids grow in those profile elements just throughout the 2 weeks that I was with them on each trip too. So you're probably wondering maybe like, where do we go? So I just put a couple maps up there. Oaxaca is, you can see it's circled down there in the bottom of the Mexico map. It looks like it's close to the beach, but it's really not. To get to the beach from Oaxaca, you're probably looking at like a 5 or 6 hour bus ride on bumpy roads. So we stayed in Oaxaca, which there was plenty to see and do there. And then the France trip, we were in southern France in Basque country, right in Biarritz. And we actually did go over the border the weekend that we were there in between, and the kids got to see the Basque city of San Sebastian. So they did get to go there and hear some Basque and Spanish. The signs were in double languages, so Spanish and Basque and French and Basque. That was pretty cool too for them to experience that as well. All right, this is a list of the kids. You can see that's a pretty good group of kids that got to go this summer. At the bottom, I have Isaac Jasso. Was a Mitchell student. Unfortunately, he passed away in a tragic accident the week before our trip. So Mitchell is represented in this, and it was a very difficult situation. But I know that Isaac and his family were very excited for this trip, and I was talking to his mom via text and whatnot as well. So we're looking forward to having Mitchell students next year. And then for Biarritz, we had a group of 10, and some of these students are here. We have quite a big group. We have Biarritz on this side and Oaxaca on this side. It's not a competition. So we're going to get to a game here in just a moment. You're going to hear from the kids. So, all right. So tonight, I'm going to stop talking because you can hear all this from me or you can ask me questions later, but I really want you to hear from the kids and the parents because that's who I work for, and I work for our teachers and our admins, of course, too. But tonight, it's about the kids and the parents. So from Oaxaca, we're going to have a couple of students. Their names are underlined. If they're ready, they can. They're just going to share off the top of their head, like from their heart, what really stood out to them, what they learned. And then we have a parent, Jennifer Espinosa is here as well to share about that trip. And then on the Biarritz side, we have Lauren and Caleb, and then Reagan Rutan and Lori Sanchez that would like to share a couple words. So I'll just pass it over to who's going to go first. Anna, Kira, Stella?
I can go ahead.
Okay, Stella's up.
Why don't all the students stand up together for Oaxaca, and then, Go up there as a team.
Oh, just over there?
Yeah, you guys.
Go ahead.
Okay, so hello everybody. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Stellan. I'm from Coronado. And as you guys know, I went to Oaxaca. So I'm just going to come out with a bang here and answer the big ticket question. Did I grow from this experience in a way that I would have been unable to in a classroom? And I think the answer to that is absolutely yes. If you've ever tried to learn a second, third, fourth language, you know how important that immersion is, and that is all that we really did was immerse ourselves with the culture and the language. So to give you guys kind of a day in the life of my class and just being with my family, we would wake up kind of early, 7:30, and then class started at 9. And then I was in that class for 3 hours. So I was taking the advanced class, which is entirely in Spanish, and I was sitting in a class with literally 2 native speakers, Evelyn and Monte was in my class for a couple of days. There was a girl in there from Spain, and then a few 23-year-olds who were from the University of Kansas, and they were going into their senior year of college. So they were just there as their own study abroad, just to give you guys some info on the caliber of that classroom. And my professor was from Oaxaca. She had lived there for however old she was, 35 years. And she was giving everybody recommendations every day about what to do, what to eat, things of that nature. But yeah, so in class, she was basically just shoving questions down my throat, and it just forced me to get out of my comfort zone. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned is that you should be excited about being uncomfortable and about putting yourself in a position where you don't know everything. You're not the smartest in the room. I definitely wasn't. And to just, be uncomfortable and enjoy that experience.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Cook, and I'm currently a senior at Coronado High School. Just to tell you a little bit about the trip, I really appreciate you having us. So during my experience in Oaxaca, before I came, I was so nervous. My Spanish skills were not great, and and I learned so much while I was in Oaxaca, and I learned things that I don't think I ever could have learned in a classroom. Staying with a host family for 2 weeks was definitely intimidating, but I learned so much because, as Stellan said, kind of to reiterate, we were forced to speak the language, to learn the culture, to feel that uncomfortability. That was something that had to be done because we were with a host family and we were speaking Spanish all the time. I also was with a couple of housemates from my school and from a different school in the district. So I got to become closer with them, as well as we relied on each other when we were learning to help each other out, and we really bonded in that way. I also met a bunch of people from other states across the United States, people that I'm still friends with now that I never would have gotten to meet without this opportunity. And I'm just really grateful, and I learned so much. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Kira Jennerette. I'm from Palmer High School, and I'm about to be a junior. I was so excited to go on this trip. I have never been out of the country before, let alone by myself. I ended up making so many friends, and I love everyone that went on the trip, and I've missed them so much already, even though most of them are here. Sorry, my brain is a little fuzzy. But the learning environment there was so amazing. My teacher, I was in Stellan's class for the first 2 days, but they ended up separating the advanced classes because it was so big. So I ended up with, I think, was he the director of the college there? So me and my roommate, me and Monse ended up being in that class together with a couple other kids that were still studying there. And I feel like I learned so much grammar that I wouldn't have learned here. I mean, I don't know, I feel so lucky to have gone on this trip. And thank you so much for funding this trip. Yeah. Thank you.
Claudette, can we get the parent from the Oaxaca trip to come forward? Thanks.
Hi. Melly made me write out my speech before I got here. First I just wanted to really thank Mrs. Murtha and Mr. Urban. They really did a great job putting this all together before and during the trip and making us parents like really involved. And I also like to thank Coronado and District 11 and the school board members for giving this great opportunity to all these kids. As a parent, I was super nervous about sending my daughter on this trip. You know, just so many questions. But the meetings really helped, like gave us a lot of information, made us feel safe, made sure they had an agenda, that they weren't just gonna be wandering around the city by themselves. The host families, you know, had a lot of experience hosting kids before, so I felt safe. And then while they were there, Mrs. Murtha made a WhatsApp notifications for us, which was super nice, and a Facebook group, which was probably too old for these kids. But it helped me because she posted, you know, they're dancing today, and then she would put some pictures of them dancing. So it was really nice to have that. My husband and I were very impressed with how the kids were surrounded with the culture and the language, with their host families, attending the university, and then their cool like excursions, cultural ones with the dancing and the food and the sewing, the geographic ones where they went to the hot springs, and you know, it's just really adventurous, and some hiking and learning the city, and it was just really great to hear about and made us feel jealous. My daughter really embraced this trip and absolutely loved it. She returned home with much more interest in Mexican culture. My husband is, his father is from Mexico and is a dual citizen. So she has much more interest in the Mexican culture, especially cooking, in music, and in speaking more Spanish at home. She's hoping to study Spanish or Latin American studies as a minor in college. And she hopes to do some schooling in Costa Rica with her major, which might be environmental studies. So thank you very much.
Ma'am, before you leave, I didn't catch your name. Could you introduce yourself? And is your child also up here?
Yeah, I'm Jennifer Espinosa, and Romelli Espinosa is my daughter.
Great.
She's a senior.
Thank you.
Okay, across the Atlantic, you want to bring up
All
the
right,
Biarritz
thank you,
team?
Oaxaca. Now we're going to the other side of the world, and this is the group that went to Biarritz. So we have Lauren and Caleb are going to share a few words, and then two parents, Reagan and Lori, will share a couple words, and then we're going to play a little game with the board. Okay.
Awesome.
Gonna put it up again. Woo. All right. I'm Lauren. It's good to meet all of you guys. We're the Biarritz group. But honestly, I think that what we learned on this trip was so much broader than just French. We were in a very unique region in France, which is called the Basque region. It's a place that pretty much identifies as its own country. A lot of the signs there were translated into Basque underneath the French, and so pretty much no matter what, you were going to learn some words, and they were not going to be English words. And it was just something really, really special to be in a place where, I mean, there's just so many colliding cultures. There's Spanish, there's French, and there's just the uniqueness of the Basque region with their own food, their own words. Kellen, for the second week, was in my French class, and our teacher a lot of times would teach us how to say something in French, and then she'd be like, but in Basque, it's this. And so if you hear this, then you know it's not French, it's not Spanish, it's Basque. And there was just something entirely unique about learning that whole other side to the country that so many people just would never, ever get to know. It was also very unique being able to be in a classroom with mostly people from Switzerland and Sweden. There was a lot of people from Europe because it is actually a graduation requirement for them to study abroad for 3 summers before they're able to graduate high school, which is something totally unorthodox and something that blew all of our minds when we found out. Because, yeah, it was just something super unique and amazing. Your turn.
Good evening, everybody. I went to Biarritz. My name is Caleb Robertson. You never truly learn a language until you're in a French classroom and you and the teacher are doing charades to try to figure out what you mean and what you want to communicate with each other. We as people learn from each other, and imagine how much more learning you can get done by being bilingual. And that's why in the United States we need to create or prioritize the creation of bilingual children, and so they can become adults. Well, children, I mean young adults. And to further elaborate on the Basque culture in that region of France, I was able to go to Bayonne, which has the Fête de Bayonne, which is a huge festival in Europe, the biggest festival in Europe. You have Carnival in Brazil, you have Mardi Gras here in the States, same thing, it's all up there. And it was crazy to see how proud these people were for their culture, and how I have no idea that it existed until I got there. It's so shocking, and I'm grateful for the experience. And to conclude my portion of the presentation, I wanted to say thank you. Not only I started this experience as a Doherty Spartan, and now I'm part of something bigger and something greater. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Reagan Rutan, and I want to thank Madame Martha for facilitating this whole trip. I am so proud of you all for being here tonight. It takes a lot of courage, and thank you for so eloquently sharing your stories. My daughter's name is Addie. She went to Biarritz. She is at work tonight, and frankly, she did a lot of shopping in France, so she needs to be at work tonight. So I just want to start by talking a little bit about experiential learning, in elementary school that comes in the form of field trips, and it boasts many positive results. But this district-sponsored, merit-based trip was unique in that it opened access to students of all socioeconomic backgrounds. It's a rare opportunity, and if we are talking about the loftiest of goals in public education, it helps to bridge opportunity gaps and break cycles of poverty. It's huge. It really is a great opportunity. So I think as families, we initially embraced this trip as an opportunity for a cultural and language immersion experience. And there's no doubt in my mind that the result was increased language competencies, cultural tolerance, and cultural appreciation. But I have to say, I was most profoundly struck upon my daughter's arrival back home by the level of personal discovery that I saw. So we're looking at this group of young adults here, young adults who are on the verge of making life choices that have the potential to impact their futures in a profound way. We're thinking about college, entering the workforce, entering the military. These decisions require knowing oneself very well. And this trip provided students with many opportunities for personal growth and self-reflection. So knowing the situations in which we thrive, understanding the situations in which we struggle, they all had experiences where their confidence was boosted. I'm sure they all had experiences where they had some level of humility. And those are all really great opportunities to help individuals inform their post-secondary decisions. So in learning about others, we develop empathy and learn about ourselves. So these students returned with an increased ability to collaborate with peers meaningfully, and to some degree, there's civic empowerment, both on a global and a national scale. Thank you.
Oh, I gotta bring it down too. I hate to mention that the parents all wrote their stuff and the kids all just spoke, so I don't know what that says. But good evening, Superintendent Gall, President Malpacum, and the D11 board. My son Thomas is at football, or he would be here as well. But he was fortunate enough to have been selected for this incredible trip to Biarritz, France, to study abroad. His time abroad was remarkable. From the amazing landmarks that he walked through in Paris, to his first ever ride on a train, to living with what were then strangers and are now friends, to overcoming fears of heights on a ropes course and of water by learning to surf in the ocean. And maybe most importantly, like many of the people have already said today, just growing into the incredible, responsible young man that he is. Very proud mama. This experience is truly unique and, although cliche, life-changing. This is an experience that neither his father nor I could ever provide for him. This is not an experience that even Coronado could provide for him, although Mr. Trosha made sure he was ready, I know. So shout out to Mr. Trosha. This experience of living like a local and learning the culture and language firsthand was provided by you, the D11 board. I'm also incredibly grateful for Claudette for loving and caring for these students the way that she would have her own, and for being brave enough to travel 5,000 miles away with teenagers. Brave, yeah. This has changed my son in all of the best ways, as many of you have echoed as well. As a continuous learner, he spent 30 hours in 2 short weeks learning more about how to read, speak, write, and French. He is now a skilled communicator in 2 languages, which I witnessed last weekend at a farmer's market when he had a complete conversation in French with a vendor, and I just stood there dumbfounded and had no idea what they were talking about. He returned to the U.S. with a new level of independence and confidence that I've never seen. In France, he managed his own time by getting himself to class each day, like was talked about walking earlier. He had to get to dinner on time with his host family, and had to respect the rules and the curfews that were given. In addition, he managed all of his own money and expenses. He also shopped quite a bit, yeah. And finally, he navigated his way through several towns in France and even one in Spain. So this is not an experience that can be gained traveling with your family. I have no doubt that he is more prepared for his final years of high school and even college because of these 2 weeks in France. When I asked my son what his favorite part of the trip was, I fully expected to hear Eiffel Tower, Louvre, the beach, food, like the bread machine that you guys found, right? But Thomas told me that his absolute favorite part of the trip was being able to speak French in France and have people understand what he was saying. He said it was like magic. Thank you for providing and funding this opportunity for District 11 students to grow and learn outside classroom walls.
Do you need to hear more? Yeah, I know, like we could go all night, but we won't. All right, thank you, students and parents. You're very brave to come up here and share with the board. And I just want to mention, Lauren had her wisdom teeth out a couple days ago. So she is here tonight, and you did great. Yeah, so you all did great. So that's not an easy thing. All right, so let's look at, we're going to play just a couple sections of a Jeopardy game, not Jeopardy, okay, because it's going to be a little bit different. So this is how it works. The superintendent or the board member is going to choose a category or an amount. I'll show you the board in just a moment. And then you'll read the prompt. We're going to practice pronunciation in a moment. A student will respond to the prompt in about 15 to 30 seconds. Most of them are very short answers. And we'll play for how much ever time Superintendent Gall says we have. Everyone wins in this game, so it's like a little version of Jeopardy. So let's practice pronunciation, because otherwise you're all going to choose the parent category because you can pronounce the word parent. All right, so Oaxaca. Can we try?
Oaxaca.
Oh, you guys are, that's really good. Okay, and then the next one is Biarritz.
Biarritz.
Very good. Okay. There's a question on there about leal. Now, I know in English we want to say les hall or something. Please don't say that. It's leal.
Leal.
Very good. You just learned a Spanish word and 2 French words in about 15 seconds. So that's good. So those are some of the words that'll come up in the categories. Are you ready?
Yep.
Kids, are you guys ready? So any kid can answer when the question is read. Here we go.
Okay, and so board rules, every board member gets to pick one question. So we'll start from the left. Director Ott, you're up when the board comes up. And it will come up in a second. Here we go. We all know Jeopardy, right? There you go. We'll go left to right. Director Ott, Your Honor. Your Honor.
Oaxaca and Biarritz, $200. Is that right? Okay.
Describe.
Okay. Describe your experiences in each of these categories in 3 sentences or less.
So we need one.
Desayuno and petit déjeuner.
Yep. So we need one student from Oaxaca and one from Biarritz. Come on up.
Come on up.
Do you guys all know what those words are? Desayuno.
Yes.
Okay, so desayuno is breakfast in Spanish. Almuerzo is lunch in Spanish, and cena is dinner.
Say it in Spanish.
Cena, almuerzo y cena.
Oh,
No, desayuno, almuerzo y cena. The food there was so amazing. I had breakfast and dinner with my host mom. She was the most amazing cook. Like, I still dream about her food. She would make, so I remember one morning for breakfast, she made like homemade salsa every day. And it would always be different. Sometimes it'd be spicy, sometimes it would be green, sometimes it'd be, I don't know, it was always different, and it was so good. And I have a new appreciation for salsa. So lunch, we'd always have that. Well, we'd sometimes have it at a buffet if we went on like excursions to one of the cities or all that stuff. But and dinners was always with her, and she also made the best dinner. I also have a newfound appreciation for spinach because she would like saute it with onions and like seasonings, and it was really good. But yeah.
Can you answer that in Spanish?
The last part. The last
The
sentence.
last part. Like, describe it in Spanish?
Yeah, I want
That's
to
what
hear that.
Director Luma wanted. Just
Oh, the spinach. I don't
In
know how to say
Spanish.
spinach in Spanish.
How do you say spinach, Director Lowen?
What'd you say?
How do you say
Spinach.
spinach in Spanish? That's a tongue twister.
That's a good one. I don't know.
I'll
Ensalada.
try my best.
I would say ensalada.
What we know?
Espinaca. Okay, so mi mamá cocinó espinaca.
Espinaja? Okay, that's right.
Espinaca. Una mañana en, antes de ir a la escuela y cocinó con cebolla y huevos y fue muy rico. Yeah.
That's good.
Perfect.
Getting used to French meals was definitely a bit of an adjustment. So breakfast, if you don't know French, so petit déjeuner, déjeuner and dîner. Petit translates to small, and I'd definitely like to emphasize the small part of breakfast. As an American, that was very interesting to get used to. Most of our breakfast consisted of a slice of bread with some Nutella.
And cheese, huh?
And sometimes cheese, and that was about it. But the lunches and dinners definitely made up for it. We normally did picnics for lunch because then we had activities in the afternoon, and often lunch was a baguette sandwich. And I never knew a baguette sandwich could taste so good. They were fantastic. I dream about them. It was amazing. And then the dinners we always ate as a host family, and that was a really nice cultural experience because we would all get together and talk about our days, of course, all in French, which was a bit of a challenge, but the food was amazing, getting used to like actual French cuisine, and then just talking and hanging out together. It was a really nice experience to get used to actual French meals and everything.
Thank you. Perfect. Dr. Loma.
About each for 200.
Okay. Am I supposed to be able to click on it? Oh, there it is. Whoa.
200.
I'll take 400. Oh, wow, I want some.
Well, I think I'm the perfect person to answer this because I took these pictures. This is, they wanted to surprise us with some French cuisine.
Wow.
Yeah, so they told us to dress up. So the first picture is of us dressing up. That's me. To the left, that's Liam. He goes to Palmer. He's not here today. And to the right, that's Sebastian. He's from Sweden. He was in the same house with us. And then the second photo is escargot.
Mhm.
First time trying that is, you know, you like think about it, you're like snails. That's so, ugh. But actually, it surprised me. It's so good.
Yep.
And then the second photo is actually frog legs.
Yeah.
Oh,
Also, very interesting. You have to eat around the bones. It's still very good. It's hard to be proper while eating those, but it's still very good. And then the last is a potato dish, native to France. And our host mom made all of this food, and I dream about her cooking. Like the two, such a great cook. And that's it.
Director Daniels.
Oaxaca for 400. This is the name of the main square of Oaxaca, and identify what would you see, hear, and smell at this place.
Well.
Drum roll.
So the main square of Oaxaca, it could be referred to as El Centro or the Zócalo. So there's vendors everywhere there selling the most amazing food. It could be like agua frescas, which is kind of like juice, but mainly just the really rich fruit that is native to there, and water, and it's like the sweetest thing that you ever have tasted, and there's no sugar in it. Here, I mean, it's just like really loud. Like there, you can like music, people talking, laughing, some singing. There's musicians in the street sometimes. One time we walked past a blind man playing the piano, and it was beautiful. Yeah, yep.
Director Nelson.
All right, I will go with parent perspective for 600, Alex. What are your hopes for D11 study abroad for the future?
Hi, I'm Erica Belk, and my son Jaden went to Biarritz. My hope is that it continues. I have a student that is a 7th grader, and I would love for him to get this experience. It was just amazing for Jaden. Some days he was so busy I'd get 2-word texts, and that would be about all I'd hear about the trip, but I've heard a lot since he got back. We've had to buy baguette, we've had to find bubbly water, and we're looking into $60 a pound cheese, so we're looking for alternatives. But I would just hope that this would continue, because I think it has been an amazing experience, and I think that it makes a lot of connections between the schools in the district and people in the community, because I know my son has gotten to know a lot of people from other schools that he would never have branched out to, so that's my hope.
Director Bankus.
Oaxaca for 600.
Oh.
So these are two ruins that we visited. The one on the left is called Monte Alban, and the one on the right is called Mitla. We visited both of these, and both of them were a bit of a drive away from the main area in Oaxaca where we were all staying. On the drive to Monte Alban, I did throw up. But it was worth it. We got to learn a lot about the Zapotec. We got to learn a lot about the Zapotec people, who were an ancient tribe, like the Aztecs. We got to visit the ruins. Monte Alban specifically was some of the largest ruins, I believe, within Latin America. I had never seen ruins before, and they were just so amazing to see. It really gave me a perspective on just the history of not only Oaxaca, but Mexico and Latin America as a whole. And we also saw Mitla, which was a similar site, a bit smaller but still beautiful. And at Mitla, there were vendors selling handmade clothing, shoes, amazing food, and both of those places were amazing. So.
Thank you. Director Jurgensen.
Let's do parent perspective for 400. Sorry, which element of the D11 graduate profile stands out the most in your student from this experience and why? And we've given you those graduate profile standards there for you to reference.
Hello, my name is Kristen. My daughter Lauren was a part of the program to France, and honestly, I think all of them stand out. I think one of my favorite stories that Lauren told me was, the first day that she was in her classroom, she kind of sent me a text and she's like, I think they put me in the wrong class. Like, this is really hard. And then, but at the end, I said, well, now tell me, how are you doing? And she said, I explained in French how to get a driver's license in the United States to my host home family.
Wow.
And so I just think empowered citizen, I think skilled communicator, critical thinker. I just think it was such an empowering opportunity for these kids. I mean, it sounds like for all of these kids. And just thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope you continue to support it.
Awesome, thank you.
So I'm not sure what's left on the board anymore.
And that's
but
on me, because I was supposed to be crossing them off.
I'll round out parent
If we
perspective.
double click, we'll just go back.
Parent perspective for 200.
200?
There you go.
Well, that's a good question.
You got to read the question.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I didn't read the question. That's on me. How has the study abroad experience enhanced your relationship with your student? Any parent want to come up here? And come on up.
Okay. My child got to go to France, my child Liam, and yeah, the one that eats a lot. How has the study abroad experience enhanced your relationship? Because I think I'm an instructor myself. He has a much more open vision now of dealing with people from other cultures and countries. And so I do as well. I teach in foreign languages and humanities. And so for me, we have a much better relationship because now when I say things, he goes, I didn't look at it from that perspective. So for me, it's nice to actually hear him with his open mind saying, I never thought about that. I never thought about that. So that's kind of nice. So thank you so much. And I felt so safe with Claudette.
Awesome.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
We'll wrap up there. I'll forego a last category. No, it's just been such an incredible honor to have this part be a celebration for the work that the district has done. What I really want folks to see is how we can take an idea that really came from just Claudette and I having a brief conversation, and I happened upon one parent meeting. But other than that, it was just Claudette coming back through Tamara and the team and working with contracting and just constantly overcoming obstacles on why we couldn't get this done. And obviously, it was well worth all of that sweat equity. So this is equity in action. This is District 11. Being able to have every one of these students now be a springboard and an expert communicator on the value of being a part of District 11, I think stands on its own. So thank you to the board. Thank you all for staying with us for this amount of time. But it was critical that everybody understands every one of these students is forever changed from this experience. Now what we have to figure out is how do we take those attributes and create other programs, not just international travel, but how is it that every experience can have the same profound impact on every one of our students? And then we know we've actually brought our graduate profile to life. So thank you, Claudette.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Brenda, are you still here? Oh, we're going to switch now to August. No,
I'm going to
sorry.
go very quickly, and this
No,
isn't
let us
to-
go through this real quick. Let us just, and then you guys can ask questions, Parth.
This
'Cause I wanna
isn't
be
in
able to
any
release
way.
the students.
This isn't. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, sure. You want me to wait? Yeah.
Before you guys leave, can you turn on my microphone? Okay. Just wanted to get a quick message out to all of the parents out here and the students, and also Ms. Murtha. Ms. Murtha, when I was talking to you just a few minutes back before the meeting started, you said that your summer was just about a week or so that you stayed in Colorado Springs because you were traveling with both groups out there. So again, phenomenal job coordinating, planning this, and putting this together. And you've been in the district how long, Ms. Murtha? This is your...
I came to District 11 from another surrounding district in 2013.
Okay.
And I was at Palmer High School, and then I've been in this position for about 4 years.
Have we done anything like this in the past before?
No, we have district trips that are, you know, if the student can afford to go through like EF Tours or other companies, then they can go, and it's a tour. They get on a bus and they go from site to site to site, but not like this at all.
Yeah, great. That's again a message that we want to get out to our community that come to District 11. One of the things that I have talked with Superintendent Gall, and Superintendent Gall actually has mentioned this to me, every student that comes into our secondary school, high schools, we want to figure out an opportunity for them to travel abroad. Okay, not just the 20 students or so that we are talking about there. How can we get there? It is going to take some time to build up that capacity, but listening to those students and also the parents out there, the difference and the impact that this has made on the students and the cultural values that they are learning and the confidence that they exhibit when they are talking up there. And the student, I forget her name, Director Loma, asked her a spontaneous question about speaking in Spanish. And she did a phenomenal job, you know, just spontaneously rising to that situation. And that's what these students are going to be facing in the day-to-day world when they graduate. I think this is going to have a tremendous impact on their future journey, whatever that they end up doing. Our strategic plan talks about empowering the whole student to profoundly impact the world. What better way to go about doing that than what these students exhibited out there? So this is a great job, what you guys are. And our hope is, and we will make sure that's the feedback that we got from the parent community out there. It's upon the board to make sure that we, before I get there, what was the cost impact for the students on this trip?
It was less than $150,000 for everything. Flights,
No, I'm talking about what did the students have to pay out of their pocket itself?
Zero.
That's great. That's what I wanted to hear.
They got a small spending stipend.
Yes.
Yes.
Other than what they spent on their own personal
Right. And now they're working
shopping
it off.
trips and things like this. That's the thing that zero. Okay, we were able to provide and set aside funds so these students can go abroad and learn and have this unique experience, which is going to pay dividends for them in years to come. And we will figure out a way to increase that budget, and I want to see more of our students come up here and share these phenomenal stories. So thank you all for putting this together. Thank you for the planning. Thank you for the, I know that you probably had to overcome a ton of obstacles. You talked about springtime. That's one of the things that we talked about. The Superintendent Gall talked to the executive team at the kickoff. it's all about overcoming obstacles. Students come first. We are going to find a way to overcome obstacles, any barriers that are in place, to make sure that they get that learning opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, 1 week, students. We'll see you soon. All right, Brenda, you want to wrap us up on Jumpstart here? We don't have as much data here because Jumpstart is active and still happening.
Right.
But there are 2 U's in August.
Yes.
So there's 2 Jumpstarts.
Correct, correct. So I'm not going to read these bullet points to you. The whole point of incoming kindergarten, incoming sixth graders, and incoming freshmen was really to lessen the stress and anxiety of the students entering a new environment and lessening the stress and environment of parents letting their students go. So I'm not going to read those to you, but it was great to see our little babies coming into kindergarten. Most sites, we had 14 that finished up Jumpstart August 2nd and 3rd. We have 3 that are going to finish up 14th and 15th. You will see the school sites that did Rising 6th grade and then the sites that did Rising Middle or High School. And so positive program, we're still wrapping it up. Kindergarten is giving a kindergarten screener, which the preschool director and I will sit and grade those and give a comparison of students that entered kindergarten. So I'm going to wrap this up. There's still more to come. I will go ahead and give you an analysis maybe in the spring of what the whole in program, the Jumpstart program revealed. So I'm not going to keep you any longer. If you have questions, please feel free to find me.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
I
Appreciate
just want to wrap up this idea of this summer review again, too, which is that we're shifting from the idea that summer school is starts from a deficit position, right? We are introducing new opportunities and expanding learning. It's not just what didn't happen the year before. It's also about preparing for the year to come. Even Summer Bridge itself has taken on that new tone. You heard Gabby come here and say, I got it. I was able to attend a Summer Bridge class, combined class. Doherty hosted Mitchell because there was some work happening at Mitchell. And I was in that classroom and I was shocked that what I thought I was going to walk into is that what you heard was students that were earning a D or an F with a chance to now improve their grade. I thought that the learning in the classroom was going to be at the D and the F level. What was concerning for me is the learning in that classroom. Those students were all A, B, maybe C plus students who for one reason or another hadn't quite navigated the structure that we as adults put around how it is that we ask for a demonstration of learning. We had advanced intellectual conversations on what was happening in Summer Bridge. We were talking about their individual school needs. Every child in that classroom was participating. This was an English class. And I was thinking to myself, wait, these are the kids that didn't pass? And so there's an opportunity for us to learn from that says, why are some kids, Gabby was clearly an articulate young woman who knows exactly that there was an effort, it was an effort issue, not a skill issue. How do we ensure that we're on track to graduate or just on track to pass the class such that Gabby isn't in April now facing, I'm going to have to attend Summer Bridge to earn those credit? How does the credit become the actual experience instead of this goalpost at the end of the time period there? So I'm seeing a lot of nods from a lot of the educators out in the audience here. So we're excited for that. But it's just been a tremendous summer. The learning was adult-wide as well. We just finished a tremendous leadership symposium. We had new teacher orientation. We had boot camp for new principals and assistant principals. You'll meet some of them here just in a minute. It has been an incredibly wonderful experience. All of the team on either side of the wall gets credit for this, the executive cabinet and all those executive directors and directors. So just to put a stamp on it is we've been open all summer long, and we're excited to share the world's longest school spotlight. Thank you.
Well, I'll jump on that. The school spotlight usually is not this long, but when you look at the board agenda, it's light on action and non-action items. So one of the things was we wanted to celebrate students and the accomplishments over the summertime. So this is not typical that school spotlight goes this long, but it was good to spotlight our students in this case. Back to you.
Okay, and so now we're to superintendent's report. I will not take as long as I normally do because of how much time we had to celebrate. I'm going to introduce a new concept here as the slide comes up. Last year we used GSD awards to frame what was happening for the superintendent's report, which stood for getting stuff done. We've moved from GSDs to now the word that we're going to introduce is elevate. These will be elevation celebrations, and I'm going to give you just a little bit of a frame here. I'm not smart, I just steal things that work. It is the Ohio State University, and that's where we came up with the Colorado Springs School District. I'm actually not an Ohio State fan, but they're really good at marketing and talking about themselves. And so they have a tradition that they started in 1968, where they give, those are Buckeye stickers, by the way. That is a Buckeye flower. It has nothing to do with recreational drug use, and it might look like that, but that is not what it is. In 1968, they adopted the idea of awarding their their athletes little stickers for a job well done. Now, if you don't know anything about football, I can just promise you, if you line up against the line of scrimmage against the individual who wears that helmet, you're probably thinking that they do a really good job at their job. And so this year, we're going to introduce Elevate stickers that we're handing out to staff for a job well done. There's a little bit of history here. This is the design of our new coin. We are finishing our sesquicentennial coins because we introduced those a year ago in August. So these are the last coins that we have. The new coins should be in soon. We will celebrate this more formally in 2 weeks. This is student designed. This is designed by a student at Holmes, Evelyn Kellner. I asked Laura Lee McDaniel to get us a design from students. So we'll have the D11 logo on one side, but on the back side, this will be what's on our coin. And what I love about it is 4 different elevations. It shows, and very accurately, the plains in the color green. It's probably the only year for the next 100 years that it'll be green, but it's been so green this year. And then it has Garden of the Gods behind it. And what I love about that is I heard somebody talking earlier about the summer programming that we went to Garden of the Gods. I'm thinking about putting a gate up on either one of the entry parts of Garden of the Gods. It's in our district. So every other district that takes a field trip there, that's District 11. You're coming into District 11 to see the Garden of the Gods. So we need to celebrate that. Behind that, of course, is the Front Range, which frames everything that you can see. And then, of course, behind that, you know, our Purple Mountain Majesty and Pikes Peak itself. And so the fact that a student's mind has a visual that says this is what they believe it means to be in District 11 is something that we will be sharing in the same celebrations that what it means to be successful at The Ohio State University will be what it means to be successful. So we've started handing these out to staff, and we will make these available for principals. And so the word this year will be Elevate. This is not a new D11 logo. As you can see, right smack dab in the middle of the bottom of it is our D11 logo. It's just a way for us to celebrate the things that we believe are important for our team to come forward. So in our elevation celebration, they've been waiting patiently. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please, if I can get all the new principals and assistant principals to kind of come on up. Just come in, state your name, introduce your school, and then walk on by. And you don't have to come in that order, just however you get up here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kristen Romay, and I am the new assistant principal at Fremont Elementary School.
Awesome.
Hi, good evening. I'm Tiffany Brown, and I'm the new assistant principal at Martinez Elementary School. Go Mustangs.
Hi, I'm Stacy Miller. I'm the new principal at Odyssey.
All right.
Oh, I'm going this back.
I'm Deborah Kaufman. I'm the new assistant principal at Monroe Elementary.
Awesome.
I'm Amanda Wermers. I'm the new athletic director at Mitchell.
Hi, Amanda. Welcome back.
Brian Blanc, and I'm the new assistant principal at Mitchell High School.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Chad Molina, and I'm the new assistant principal at Rudy Elementary School.
Welcome back, Chad.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Atencio, the new principal at Columbia, and you are more than welcome to come over and play kickball on our new turf and paint a picture while you're there.
Yes.
I'm Robin Moore, and I'm the new principal at Edison Elementary.
Great job,
Thank you.
Robin.
Hello, I'm Jennifer Morel. I'm the new principal at Rogers Elementary. Go Wildcats, right there, right there.
So, I am Leticia King, assistant principal at Adams Elementary School.
Great job.
I'm Ron Hamilton. I'm the new principal at West Campus, pre-K through 8th grade on the west side. Thank you very much, and I have a quote for Dr. Colicky because he's teasing me, and that quote is, "Weird is a welcome." And so Dr. Colicky teases me about knowing Anglo-Saxon.
Put this back down. Hi, I'm Carmen Perez, and I'm the new assistant principal at Helen Keller Elementary, home of the Roos.
Good evening. My name's Julia Scott. I'm the new principal at Galileo Middle School.
All right.
Hi, good evening. I'm Carrie Lindeman, principal at Man. Go Lancers.
Hi, I am Karen Parker, AP at Man. Go Lancers.
Hi, board. I am Megan Mears. I am the new assistant principal over at Scott Elementary. Go Wolves.
Yes.
Hello, I am Addie Arnell, interim principal at Coronado High School.
All right.
Hi, I'm Liz Fiorillo. I am the assistant principal at Freedom. Go Falcons! Go
Hi, good evening. Tammy Kruger, new principal at King Elementary.
Hello, good evening. I am the proud principal of Wilson, and my name is Sheridan Hirsch. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Lindsay Jimenez. I'm the new AP at Wilson.
Awesome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jenny Breeding. I'm the new assistant principal at Chipeta.
Hi, I'm Emily Ray. I'm the interim principal at Spark Online.
I'm Josh Schaefer. I'm the new assistant principal at Tesla.
Good evening. I am Krista Burke. New name, so still getting used to it. Proud, excited, happy principal of Palmer High School. Go Terrors!
Hi, I'm Trevor Needham. I'm the new assistant principal at Doherty.
Awesome. Okay, raise your hand if you were in District 11 last year. Look at that. Upward mobility for our strongest leaders. Raise your hand if you're new to District 11 and sourcing the highest quality leaders available in and out of state. Awesome.
So quickly, thank you. Thank you for all for being here this evening, taking some time. I know that you've been waiting, some of you patiently outside, standing out there for the last hour and a half. It's wonderful to see all the excitement. And I've often said that I have, first of all, the utmost respect for the principals and the assistant principals. I've often said that you guys, your job and the role that you play in this district as building leaders, it's more important than even what Superintendent Gall does. It's because you guys wear multiple hats and solve so many different problems on a day-to-day basis, whether that is ensuring that parent communication is happening, you are going to have so many parents approaching you, or discipline of the students and the morale of your staff. So thank you for what you guys do. I wish each of you are phenomenal here. The only message that I have for you is we are a district of high expectations and no excuses. Okay, so that is exactly the message that we want out there. Set high expectation for your staff, set high expectations for your students, and it's great to see the school spirit here too, when some of you are coming, go Wolves and go Terror and go Falcons. So yeah, Mustangs, there you go. We want that school spirit up there. We want to see that. There are no barriers in District 11. If you experience any barriers or obstacles, reach out to your area superintendents, and they will make sure that the barriers and obstacles are removed. Students come first in District 11. That's the message that we want to constantly reinforce in your respective school community. Please send invites for school events to the school board. Each school board member gets assigned 7 or 8 schools. We distribute our schools, and those school board members, you can invite the whole school board, but typically that one school board member is going to participate more into your, immerse themselves into your school community. So invite us to your school events, invite us to your meetings that may take place, and we look forward to visiting your schools and spending some time with you. Great job. Thank you.
Continuing the elevation theme, I have a photo here of Tom Hunt and Nancy Marshmallow. I'm going to go to the next one too as well, because Sarah Connor's here as well, but now I'll go back and talk a little bit. These are all about a relationship with Power School. When I arrived last year, Power School was what I would call a 4-letter word. We had struggled with our conversion and our implementation. We were thinking about suing them for a breach of service. They weren't happy with us. Tom and Nancy have now written a program and code that Power School is using and selling in the state of Colorado. For every district that buys into their work, we will get a discount of our cost of Power School. So that's actually gone through the legal channels, and that's been done. So we actually took a relationship, saw, to be cliche, saw the power of what Power School could do, and used it to not only problem solve for ourselves, but then actually took that and brought it back to the vendor, who sees that it's a marketable opportunity going on, maybe even beyond the state of Colorado. But just huge innovative thinking that happens in the team, and that is, again, cross-functional, because Tom is representing our IT department and Nancy from SPED. How we take this idea of using the knowledge of the adults to better the system itself. And then, Sarah, you're here, so actually I'm going to ask you to just, if you come to the podium for a second and actually describe to the board what your innovation award was from Power School. And don't be humble.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Connors. I'm the School Management System Program Manager for Power School. It's a new position in the district. Came alongside Tom to help him implement all of the Power School products that we purchased. So at EDGE this year, which is the conference that we attended in Orlando, they give out the Power School Honor Roll, and they give out 8 awards across the nation. And I received the Excellence in Innovation Award from Power School.
Perfect. And you want to introduce your husband? Is that your husband?
My husband Jim is here.
So the countless hours that Sarah has put into it, we are appreciative of.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Just today, we had, for the 4th year in a row, one of our school counselors named a state counselor of the year. So this is Maddie Francis from Monroe. I happened to be able to jot over there. Actually, I just heard it was a really good cake. I did eat half the cake. I cut most of the cake too, so it's good. But Dr. Carol Fry had all of her staff in the room and told Maddie that she needed to come down for something important. And she walked in. She even had her parents there, and just completely, you can see how excited and a little embarrassed she was for the opportunity. But it was incredible, because I knew it was the 2nd year in a row, because last year we had our counselor from West win the same award. And then I was corrected by our counseling staff that was there that it's our 4th year in a row. And so what I shared with the community that was there was, again, this idea that it is everyone in the building that it takes to ensure that we have student success. And so we all have celebrated the strength of leadership for Dr. Fry. She's done a great job. We have all been in classrooms and seen the individual strength of our and our collaborative strength of our teachers there. But it goes beyond just the classroom setting. Having access to high quality counselors and social supports is integral for our overall success. And so the fact that we've built that foundation 4 years going in a row makes us looking forward to who will be named next year. I believe there might be somebody named next week as well. So congratulations to Maddie. I would be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity just to talk about the incredible strength of communications that have been happening over the summertime. Deborah and her team are just everywhere and anywhere. You go to a movie, you got the TV on, you're on the radio, you have things flying in on social media. A couple of things that I'll talk about specifically here, the teacher and hiring fairs and the Inspire hiring fair before that for ESP. I did a live radio event with Dan Cashel from KRDO at a teacher hiring fair. He stayed the entire time. He interviewed me, he interviewed HR, he interviewed school leaders, and he was live on the air at Palmer High School. And it just had an incredible buzz about it that we know that generates follow-on even for folks who weren't able to get there. And the Special Olympics Unified School, Chris Knoll is not here, Dr. Mendelsberg is here. We are the first district in El Paso County to sign an MOU with Special Olympics Colorado on being a Special Olympics Unified School system. And we will have a fall, a winter, and a spring sport. And it goes below the high school level, all it gets into youth programs as well. And we continue to see incredible feedback and participation of the Big Kid Book Club. We send these things out, and it's literally like a flyer within a flyer. People are like, oh, I got a book. Oh, it's from District 11. Oh, here's what I can be doing to help my kid in early education. Oh, why don't I go to District 11 for early education? So really smart piece there. And I just really, really appreciate, we have seen the demographics of our student population literally change overnight in this city, really within the last 10 years. And I was just so proud of Deborah and her team to be able to push out Spanish-specific advertising to make sure that we're communicating directly with families who might have obstacles to understand where it is that there are opportunities for them. So thank you, Deborah, for you and your team. What you'll also see is when we get a little further in the school readiness report, you'll see that the targeted marketing that we've done in boundary schools is paying off. So this idea of celebrating choice, make District 11 your choice, is paying off. You will see that schools along the northern and the western boundary are beating their projected enrollment numbers. And that's because that's exactly the market that we went after. You'll hear a lot about our facilities. I just could not pass up the opportunity to show these floors at Jackson Elementary School. I've only been here a year, but the first school I went to read a book on the first day of school last year was at Jackson Elementary School, because that was one of my stops for my interview, and I promised Sarah Miller if I got the job I'd come read a book there. But I mean, I could literally brush my teeth. I'd say comb my hair, but I don't have any hair. You could literally brush your teeth and put your makeup on in the shine of that floor. And Sarah reached out and asked that we celebrate her new building lead, Patricia Lambot, goes by Trish. And Sarah would be the first one that would say to you, for years I have struggled to get somebody at this caliber who is constantly invested in elevating their own game. And so Trish has joined this team in 1 year under our new regional management of how we're handling custodians, and completely blossomed where that is her school. And you can, again, just look at how fabulous Jackson Elementary Schools looks like. So just a big thank you to Sarah for bringing that to me and for the team. And I am going to stop there because we still have a lot more to cover in the school readiness report when we get there.
Okay.
So that's it for the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Okay. Any quick thoughts or comments from the board? Hang on a minute. I'll get to you, Director Luma. Director Art.
Superintendent Gall, I think Tesla middle school enrollment, I'm not sure you touched on that, or you were going so fast I missed it.
I didn't yet. It's coming up.
Oh,
We have
okay, that's part of what's
enrollment
coming up.
Update,
Thank you.
In the school readiness report.
Director Luma, if you, press.
I was intrigued by the book. I thought yours is going to be just a coin, but if you got a sticker, because
I do have a sticker.
We have stickers.
Oh, you got stickers? Can I put one on on Par's forehead?
I don't know if anybody got a live sticker.
You got
right
enough.
Now that might be
With the helmet, it would just really, you deserve one.
It can be, there's a fine line between celebration and vandalism, and so, but I would be super proud to get pictures like Flat Stanley pictures of like, somebody got a picture of a D11 Elevate sticker in places like maybe the mayor's office. Wouldn't that be neat?
As long as it's a sticker and not a tattoo, Director Luma.
Right.
You know, I mean, the sticker I can remove at the end of the day, but the tattoo, it's not happening. I mean, it reminds me of the principal at Mitchell. During graduation, he had his hair cut in the shape of a heart. Was it? Yeah, that's what it was. So that was covered in the newspaper article too. Moving on, public comments. Yep. Okay, we have one public comment, and I'm not going to go over the board protocol because Secretary Null, who was a former board member on this board, she knows all about public comments. So welcome, Secretary Null.
Good evening, President Melpacum, Board, Superintendent, staff, and community. My name is Teresa Knoll. For more than a decade, I've watched us improve paths and routes to school in a piecemeal fashion. Still, I see and hear cars screeching their brakes as students cross major roads during rush hour. Still, I see drug dealers on trails that adults and students use to traverse to their workplace or school. Still, I see students walk along ragged dirt paths, run across streets to get to their parents' car or their sibling's school. And still, more risks that can be listed in 3 minutes. It's time to take action. Identify the ways students get to school and return home. Do a risk assessment with the input of students, their caretakers, building staff, transportation, city roads, and CSPD. Brainstorm solutions and mitigate the risk. The beginning of the school year is the perfect time to obtain input from parents, guardians, bus drivers, building staff, students, and the community. Let's start as a part of the Welcome Back to School and classroom activities. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Moving on to board member reports. Do board members have any reports at this time? Director Daniels.
Thank you. I just wanted to say welcome back. Happy new school year to everybody. It's good to see you. I'm especially excited for the new staff. Thank you for the returning staff, and especially class of 2024. Let's go, seniors. I'm so excited for you all, and I'm just grateful that I'm going to spend some time with you coming soon. Thank you.
Director Nelson.
I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Gall for helping our board meetings be focused on student outcomes. I very much enjoyed the presentations on Summer Bridge and Study Abroad and the Jumpstart program. I mean, I feel like my cheeks are hurting. I smiled so much. I mean, just the energy in the room and having the principals and assistant principals come and introduce themselves, it really helps set the tone for the school year. So thank you for that. And it actually plays nicely into the board comment I prepared where I was just thinking about last spring how the board demonstrated its commitment to investing in staff through record high pay raises for every employee group, increasing the starting salary for teachers by over $8,000, making District 11 offerings one of the highest starting salaries in the Pikes Peak region. We invested in staff careers through additional paid professional development and by requesting a search that resulted in better health benefits. So over the summer, I've been reflecting quite a bit on the focus of the district and how we convey the priorities through our board meetings of student success, community engagement, staff investment, and future vision. And we've spent a lot of time on adult inputs, and we've laid the groundwork to establish a support system for our staff. The board leads by creating goals and establishing guardrails for operation through policy. Last spring, we filled a gap through the passing of a staff conduct policy, and we will begin refocusing our culture through the parent partnership policy, which is now foundational to District 11. And all of this work is ultimately in an effort to improve academic achievement levels. The reason we are here as an education system is to improve outcomes for kids. Historically, District 11 has not performed well academically, and this has been a thorn in the community's side for years. Since the formation of this board in 2021, there has been a change of focus to actively turn the direction of the district towards excellence in education for all students. You will see this focus in the decisions we've made, such as expanding preschool opportunities to allow access to more families, increasing instructional time at the elementary school level, and providing more after-school enrichment programs. Each of these will most likely have the greatest impact to our lower income families, where we see the free and reduced lunch students struggle academically. We will continue to be undeterred in our mission to improve academic achievement levels for all students. And as we begin this new school year, I just have an ask for my fellow board members and Mr. Gall. How can we continue to shift the focus of our meetings and our work towards student outcomes? For example, I propose that we further push into the student success priority by committing to raise reading scores by a certain percentage by the end of this year. A second goal should be reducing the number of behavior interruptions, which will improve learning environments. Together with administration, we can determine what tangible numbers we should target. Let's make them specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Since the formation of this board in 2021, we have been hyper-focused on improving outcomes for kids. I propose we zero in on 2 specific areas at this time with the new school year: reading and behavior, setting SMART goals to help guide our work. I look forward to further conversations among the board in regards to this proposal, and ask that you take it into consideration. I realize this may have been something I could have brought up at future agenda items, but I wanted to give you time to reflect during the meeting on this ask. Thank you.
Thank you. We can certainly consider your request at a work session going forth. And then Superintendent Gall has probably some advance notice to reflect on it before he comes.
Yeah, and we have some KPIs that we're working on that we can share, such that we're working together to understand what we believe are the right measures to get to that overall shared success. We appreciate that.
Director Jurgens.
Mine will be very brief. It is on piggybacking Mr. Gall's comments on Devra and her team. I got to watch some of those ads in your report that you sent to the board, and I was just very impressed with the professionalism. And as Mr. Gall said, I mean, you guys are everywhere. And so it's been fun to follow the Facebook page and get events and to see all the different ads that you guys are creating. So your department is definitely firing up and on all cylinders. So thanks so much.
Director Art.
Thank you. First, a welcome to all the new staff and new students that we have coming into the district and joining D11 in the ongoing quest for, as Director Nelson noted, academic excellence. It's certainly not a new thing. I'm sure, Teresa, you would agree as a former board director. But it is certainly an ongoing work here in the district. I do want to note that many open houses are coming up in our community for schools, and certainly if our community wants to check the website, because again, nod to Devra, many of the events are being shared out on our social media, and there are many opportunities to go visit a school. I would like to note, I don't know how some of you didn't notice because you weren't paying attention yet to the meeting, I am on crutches, and so I apologize in advance for not going to many of those open houses. There was some uneven ground and I fell, and it's a small fracture. But anyway, so hopefully I'll be back in all the schools that I can be within a month or two. And speaking of all the schools, I do hope that the invitations will come to the entire board, not just a school that we have been randomly or not randomly assigned. It's important to me to visit as many as I can, and I hope that, yes, that the invitations will come for all of us. Thank you.
That is exactly the intent, Director Art, that the invitations will go to all the things. I know that the board director's time is also of essence out here. So the hope is that board directors immerse themselves in that 7 or 8 schools and provide regular feedback, but you are welcome to attend any and all schools. Thank you. Any other board member reports at this point in time? With that, if you can pull up my thing. So over the summer, I did have some time to reflect on all the activities and also participate in some of the school events that were going on. I did visit some of the school summer bridge programs, a couple of them at the all the things that were shared today, it was confirmed for me when I personally visited that school. I've shared some pictures starting with the 2023-24 school year kickoff. This was the event for all our exec pros. And this year we started that by having Superintendent Gall have all the group of exec pros at the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Museum out there. What a wonderful way to kickstart the school year out there. All the exec pros were there. The energy and excitement out there was palpable. I was sitting in the back, listening to some of the professional development sessions that were going on, and also what some of the activities that they were participating in, the camaraderie that you saw there, the collaboration that was, and so many of them said that this has not happened at this level before in District 11. To have them in such a venue out there, you are talking about the Olympics. It is where champions are built, and the message to them was that these champions, the Olympic champions, overcame obstacles. They didn't take no for an answer. As I said, culture of no excuses. So having everybody out there and jump-starting the school year with that kickoff event, that was phenomenal. Thank you for putting that together. And I was at Freedom, I think at end of July for their block party. And again, this was a great event. At the end of summer, to see all the community that turned out at Freedom Elementary School for that block party. They had the food trucks out there, vendors, and the School of Rock was playing music, and the Falcons were there from the Air Force Falcons. So, and the thing that I want to point out is that the board allocated some amount of money for each school. I don't remember exactly how much it was. Was it 10,000 or something? I don't know. 5,000 for each school last year for curb appeal projects and things of that nature. And Freedom decided to get that new rock sign that you see out there. It's so sparkling. I'm sure there will be so many students on the first day of school standing by that sign and taking picture out there. It was just attention grabbing as you walk into that school. And I got to take that picture with the Freedom Falcon out there. So it was a hot summer day out there in the evening. And I'm sure this student, actually it was somebody had recruited a high school student to come and do that, probably was sweating underneath that costume out there. But the excitement was noticeable out there. And I just want to give an update. I was at Doherty and Coronado, and I want to give an update on some of the progress that is taking place. Both Doherty and Coronado are going to get a brand new track and field. Coronado is a little bit ahead of schedule, and Doherty, it's going to take about middle of September before their track and field is going to be complete. All the rains that we got over the summer did not help because it made everything a little bit soggy out there, and they had to work around that. But progress is being made, and you see already the Coronado field coming to shape out there, and the similar thing is going to happen at Doherty too. So our students are going to have state-of-the-art track and field facilities at two of our high schools, and Mitchell is targeted for this year, and we will talk about Palmer too in upcoming year. And this was another picture with their, on the far left, the Doherty had outside courtyard patio kind of area where they leveled it and put some seating arrangements for the students out there with their money that was allocated to them. So some phenomenal work is going on. Doherty is also going to get a new stage for their student performance. That stage out there was uneven and not level, and students were tripping and falling. It was a safety hazard. Dance programs could not take place out out there, and sometimes students had to go to Wasson campus to showcase their performance. Now they're going to have, again, a phenomenal stage right there at Doherty. So some of our new students that are going to come into high schools and our current students that are going to come into our high schools are going to get to experience state-of-the-art track and field and also auditorium facilities. So all because the board allocated the money in a responsible manner, in a responsible stewardship. That's what one of the tasks of the board is. So thank you for all the board members for allocating that money, and we see our students benefiting it. That's all I have for my thing. Thank you. So with that, I will come to the next one. Superintendent Gall, this is school opening readiness report. When I was meeting with Superintendent Gall and looking over the agenda for this board meeting, one of the things that I asked Superintendent Gall to provide us was where are we as a school district in readiness-wise as far as opening for next week when schools open. So Superintendent Gall?
Yeah, we are 1 week until school starts. I appreciate Director Malpacum, President Malpacum, making this a special report. I wanted this to be seen by the community as a task of the board to the administration to report on our readiness for next week. You stole a couple of items for us. We're going to do this in kind of three-part. We're going to talk about our capital programs, our projected enrollment, and then I'm going to have each of the area superintendents present their kind of readiness level from a staffing perspective, because lots of news stories talking about that. And then we'll wrap up with Chief Odom talking about our ESP staffing, particularly as it relates to a lot of our school ops support. Dr. Comfort.
Good evening, Board. President Malpacum did steal a bit of our thunder, but it's okay. We have a better picture of Coronado up there. You can see with the logo in the center and on the end zones. It looks phenomenal. In fact, KKTV had a broadcast, I think, earlier today, and they had a normal news broadcast going on, and then they just stopped and they said, look at this track and field at Coronado. It's unbelievable. And then they just went back to their normal news broadcast. It was that remarkable for them. So really great capital update that I think we have to present to you today. About $27 million when we're all said and done in terms of projects that will have been completed. Want to express gratitude to the board for the allocation of funds, specifically through the fund balance, and then also the board and the community, because the primary funding mechanism for our capital projects is our MLO. So thank you for that. I want to express gratitude to the person standing to my right, Jennifer Otelling, who's our interim capital programs manager, her team, Chief Odom and the facilities team. They just did some incredible work, and we're really excited to show that to you today. So you'll see here kind of the launching page as we tried to take something regionally and just show you some of the really eye-popping projects that happened. So starting in the west, you'll see the new turf fields. Obviously, Coronado is amazing, but even at the elementaries, West Trailblazer, Halbert, really, really cool work. It looks great. It maintains really well. It's going to be incredible for when students return. You can see some inlay work there at Coronado. You can see some more structural concrete work at Jackson that happened in progress. As President Malpacum said, the Coronado track and field is running a little behind original schedule because of rain, but we will get that filled back to us by the end of August. Mr. Knoll in the athletics department has a full plan for all sports and activities that would have happened at Coronado and Doherty. Nothing will be negatively impacted. That all will still happen. They just have a backup plan for that. And then we're working on a potable water line at Holmes that will be done. Northeast schools, as you saw, as President Malpacum discussed, Doherty is getting a new track and field as well. That'll track for kind of the middle of September to open to us. And then that stage, President Malpacum discussed that it was on level 6 inches. 6 inches was the difference in one side to the other. So our largest comprehensive high school could not hold any type of dance performance on their stage. And I think the stage at Coronado, or I'm sorry, at Doherty also is a good example of how we're re-envisioning our capital projects. Historically, we would have gone in and fixed the stage. Because we partnered it with some outside funding, we fixed the stage and we got new seating in there. So we're looking to do things in a more comprehensive way instead of going in and fixing an individual part of a system, but instead saying, let's reimagine this space. And so the auditorium in Doherty will be a great example of that. Some flooring, some asphalt, some great, a new cafeteria at Sabin, and then you can see that aerial picture of Doherty. Southeast, some really cool painting at Henry and Monroe, new flooring at Monroe. They got a turf field as well. A big HVAC project at Mitchell, which I'm sure they're going to be very grateful for, and then a number of playground equipments, not only in the southeast area, but across the district. All right, Central. So you'll see up there on the right the field that Ms. Atencio, the new principal at Columbia, mentioned. The Capital team and I were on it yesterday morning, having a very quick wiffle ball game. It's a little mini Field of Dreams. So if the board is looking for an activity, I would encourage you to go there and engage. Those bathrooms at North, they are spectacular. We almost don't want to let students come in because they're just remarkable. What I will say is really cool about the bathrooms at North, and we'll talk about at RJ WAC in a second, is this really came from our students as we were doing middle school redesign work. And we heard from students about their experience in buildings over and over and over again. They talked about their feeling in the bathroom, how it was ugly and they felt unsafe and they just hated that experience. And so this is a great example of something that based on feedback we're able to address. You can also see some HVAC there at Palmer and then the always fun fire alarm systems. All right, Opportunity Schools. We finished the relocation of Tesla Middle School, and you can see there's that new branding there on the west doors at Tesla Professional Development. And then you can see another bathroom renovation there at Roy J. And then kind of across all areas, we did some significant work around testing water. You guys remember some reports about that and addressing any issues we had. Lots of paint, wayfinding signs, asphalt patch, playground surfaces, playground equipment. So those are kind of large projects that were not school specific but happened in a variety of sites. And so a really big year for the Capital team, and again, we're grateful for the funding and we look forward to another great year next year. Any questions?
Before we get to questions, I want to give a shout out to Ms. Hotelling, particularly taking over in an interim role. My task was pretty direct, which is we need to be storytellers about how it is that we take the dollars that are allocated by the board to the projects that we need. And so 1 by region and 2 by theme, I think it's really clear to the board that we have a clear plan on what it is that we do with our dollars, and the extra dollars that the board allocates move very quickly in this system. Several of these projects are unfortunately squeaky wheel gets a grease. One of them would be the HVAC at Palmer. I went over there my first month or two here, and it was very hot on the 3rd floor for world language. We had swamp cooler. We weren't making it cooler, we were making it moister, like we were making it worse. And so then in concert with this relationship between capital budgets and facilities, they're supposed to, this is by design now, that capital budgets report to the chief resource officer and aren't in the ops side because you get too myopic when you're too close to the problem. And so this type of separation allows us to tell a story that says everybody deserves access to air-conditioned instructional space. We're not there yet, but we have a plan, and we'll bring that to the board when we're building the budget and we're talking about what we'll do with our MLO. If we want to be aggressive, it's 5 years. If we want to take our time, it's 7 years. But now we're in a space where not only the board, but our community can see the value of what it is, the work that we're doing every day. Spreadsheets work internally, pictures work externally. So I want to really thank Jennifer for standing up and bringing the team into this visual storytelling space. Thank you.
Director Bankus.
So this is really timely for a question that we had, the board had received in an email. So when you're talking about region and theme, and my question is around elementary school footprint. So every elementary school has a playground. Every elementary school has additional or adjacent green area. And so when we're talking about replacing or putting in artificial turf or whatever, how is that plan made? Is it just for where the children are playing? I'm thinking about Martinez that has, the school is up here, the playground's back there, but you have that front piece that people see. I've heard it at other schools as well, but I live by Martinez, so I see it a lot. So when we look at the outside curb appeal, and I guess that was a conversation at another time and place, what is the plan? How do we look at that?
Yeah, Director Bankus, I appreciate the question. And Ms. Hotelling can speak to, over the last month, that's been our entire conversation, which is historically, we kind of look at individual projects at the district level. So as a district, we're replacing boilers or cool things like playground equipment. But we don't necessarily look at the comprehensive nature of a school, right? And so Jen's direction to her team this year, we did regionalize the project managers so that an area superintendent, and a set of 10 to 12 principals has one project manager. So it's not like at Coronado this year. Mr. Smith can tell you they had 3 or 4 projects, and they worked with 3 or 4 project managers because it was more on expertise than on what makes sense for our schools. And so we've regionalized that approach so that a project manager and an area superintendent and a principal can sit down, and at the end of this year, they're going to have a 5-year capital plan for every school in this district. So that we know, hey, here's the thing that's coming to your school just because it's in a replacement cycle, but also school community, SAC, what do you want to see here? That's all pre-ground work for if we ever look to the community again for funding. And so we're going to have that with every single school so that, at a minimum, Tara at Martinez can say, hey, that wasn't a priority to me and my community, that little patch of grass, over the next 5 years. Now, we can live with that. We don't want to make that decision for a school community, though. We want them to be in the driver's seat for that. And so that's our task by the end of the year, is to make sure every school has that.
And can you comment just on Scott, because we got a specific
That's the email
about
that
Scott.
the board got from Scott Elementary. It's on the blacktop, I think.
Yeah. So again, you did see, there is work that's happened at Scott. There was some playground work that's happened. I can probably go back to that. Yep, so that's that pink and, it's shadowed. But this kind of speaks to that because, again, right now we think about it in a year-on-year basis. What did Scott get versus what did Martinez get? Instead of saying, we're going to have a tracking system for you, a dashboard, where you and the community will be able to go in and see the projects that have happened over the past 3 years and plan for the next 3 years. And you can see the funding associated with that so that a community member or a parent can see like, oh, wow, here's what's happened. I don't remember that they did that, but they did that. And here's what's coming in the future. So again, we're making that plan make sense for every school.
So what I'm hearing is it comes from the school to say that this is where we want to allocate those funds in order to be able to bring our school up to the needs that meet parent concerns. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, to some degree. Now, obviously, there are some things for safety and security we just have to address.
I'm just looking at the outside playground.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, they're going to be the drivers in designing what they want their campus to look like.
Okay, thank you.
And so I think that's going to be really powerful.
And when Chief Odom comes forward, we will all acknowledge that exteriors are a real challenge this year because of the massive amount of rain we've had. One, the ability to actually get to them, and 2, the incredible desire for Mother Nature to say thank you for the rain. The weed grows before you can pull it. I mean, right after you pull it out, it's coming right back in there. So we have some outsourcing options on how we're going to do a lot of that work. The Scott issue is a larger challenge in just that Scott uses much more space than many of our small, I want to say smaller, our more urban school settings do. Is there an opportunity for a turf field at Scott? Absolutely. I'm certain that in conversation through this regionalized plan, we could fit that. Are we going to be able to take over an entire mountainside at Scott and Martinez? Absolutely not. Right? I'm never going to lay claim to the back 40 in giant elementary schools that are on these massive pieces of land. That's not in our best interest of how we prioritize the dollars. Can we find safer ways for kids to play in an allocated space? Absolutely.
And that's some of the turf that you see this year that addressed that. They were dirt fields that were not great, and now, and so, yeah, we will get there, and we'll do it in a way that makes sense for every school.
Thank you.
So thank you. I've got to get used to you coming from that direction. I'm always looking for you from there. Now, with the reshuffle, Darren Smith, he's the new area superintendent, and Chief Resource Officer. So one of the things that sometimes is miscommunicated out there in the community is that we don't have a Chief Finance Officer. You are the Chief Finance Officer. Your portfolio as a Chief Resource Officer includes all that what Mr. Gustafson overlooked in the past, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. I think I oversee some departments that he didn't, but really it's a strategy that makes sense because we're thinking about resources from the time a student enters our district through enrollment. That's a department that I support, all the way through we're providing resources to a school in the form of a teacher or a program, all the way through what does that building look like. And so when I meet with my team, we were just looking at that today, and we're looking at choice numbers, and we're looking at financial outcomes as a result of those choice numbers, and possibilities of if we take funding here and put it here because enrollment has shifted, imagine what that building can do. And so it is a little bit of a change for the system, but I think it's a really powerful change, and the feedback we're hearing right now is really positive.
Yeah, and just to double tap on that, I asked Brandon just yesterday, and I'm glad he's already this far out in front of it. When did the state go to choice, full choice for every family? And so that was what year we decided? 2000 and...
The state went to choice in 1994.
Right.
Yeah, but it started around 2002, 2003 to kind of open up to really what we would consider kind of open choice.
Right, and so since open choice, how many students have we lost? And then what does that equate to in dollars? And when we moved enrollment from David Colickey's oversight over to Brandon's, we literally just said, hi, Melissa, you no longer work for David, you now work for Brandon. We did no restructure of what was happening in enrollment. Enrollment has always been a robust shop, and when we get to the enrollment numbers, David and Ed Insights from last year get a ton of credit for coming up with some centralized processing, which has been a great benefit for us. We've regionalized that in places that we need to, but putting the kids next to the dollar got us to the space where when Dr. Comfort came to me today and said, it's not that we lost X number of kids, it's that X number of kids equals Y number of dollars. And so as we get to school-based budgeting, that becomes the thing now that marries the principal to enrollment, and because they were disconnected before. Here's the kids that I do or I don't have, where is or isn't my money? When you represent that the funding mechanism for public education, whether you agree with it or not, is the number of kids that are in the system, and when you then see that you are that operation in between the two of them, either as the principal or as the chief resource officer, then the relevancy that becomes that much more real, right? We halved the projected loss last year, and you'll see the slide coming forward. We believe that we will actually add kids this year. We believe the overall net will be in the positive, that we will add kids. We are done with decrease in enrollment averaging. But why do we want to be done with decreasing enrollment averaging if we constantly get paid to lose? If you get paid to lose, you will eventually lose. Is there a cost in that strategy? Absolutely. We are super appreciative of the work of Mr. Gustafson to help us build those scenarios. We still use those scenarios in every case to understand how do we mitigate this in a way that is least amount of impact for the system, but with the most upside potential. Okay, there's my rant for that. You want to go to any more questions on capital projects?
Yeah, Director Bankus, are you done? Okay. Director Jurgensen.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation. I had so many comments as things were building, but that makes sense. It's just a further level of accountability. It's more of the thing, hey, I'm responsible for the budget I want. If I need a bigger budget, I need to go get more kids. And that connection there is huge. So thank you for that. Thank you to the board for going school-based and bringing in the people to help us consult where we can maximize our dollars at each school site. But the pictures speak more to me. I drive by, schools that are in my neighborhood, obviously. I saw Edison getting some paint recently, and been able to stop by and see others. But the pictures here are phenomenal. I love that we allocated money for this. We got to see how we allocated money to the traveling abroad earlier tonight. Just really great things happening. And thank you to, what you said makes sense for the CRO piece. From the time that student comes into our building, and enrolls all the way through how they're being taken care of and taught, that makes sense in that structure. And so I'm excited to see what that's like to have that accountability from the very top of saying, these are our kids, here's how we're taking care of them from beginning to end. makes me very excited. So just a kudos to you and the organization you're already seeing and the vision you're already stepping into with your new position. So thanks.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Director Jurgensen is talking about, we are looking at innovative, creative ways, think outside the box, to ensure that the enrollment increases, ensure that we have the right outcomes for our students. And just because things were done a certain way in District 11 for the past 20 years doesn't mean we are going to repeat the same thing again. Just because something is happening in a surrounding district, if we can find creative ways to reach the same desired outcome and in a expedient manner, urgency is of essence. Sometimes positions have to be re-envisioned, and that's where you come in as a Chief Resource Officer. Thank you. Director Roy.
Thank you. I know that we had a list when we approved funding of the many things that would be happening. Is there anything like that available for each school on their websites?
On their websites, no.
Okay.
We do have the ability, it's not updated. That's why I said we are building a dashboard. We shared a beta version of it. It will come. We do have a spreadsheet right now that basically has all schools, all projects, and kind of red, yellow, green. Where are they already completed? Are they running a little behind? Are we delaying it because of X reason? And so happy to share that if that would be helpful.
I would appreciate seeing. I think it would be interesting because, yes, the pictures are there, but also it's like if somebody were to ask us as board members and promoting that in community, what's happening in the upgrades, and maybe have it on the district website for the public as well. The other thing, the timing of seeing all of this and the discussion about the air conditioning and things like that, and seeing shade structure on the freedom list, a constituent had emailed me and Superintendent Gall about a green schoolyards program that was available today, so I watched it, and it talked about urban forests and things like that, and the power of trees, of course, to and the shade for children on playgrounds and outside areas, not just as curb appeal, but to make the difference in the temperature from an asphalt playground of 100 degrees to a shaded tree area might be 75 on the same day. And it just, as we know, July being one of the hottest months on the planet, and we didn't suffer quite so badly here with that, but certainly globally we did. I think that we certainly need to be thinking about that. And as we talk about innovation, creativity, thinking comprehensively, I hope that is something that's on your radar, because it's not getting any cooler. We need the shade, the air conditioning, certainly, and protecting our kids from being too hot. And hopefully we'll not suffer that this summer and going into the
we
fall.
had toyed with an idea last year of trying to find a partner if we could come up with like an Arbor Day, one tree per building. Like, do we know, or can you help me connect me with nonprofits that would be interested in 50 trees every year? We plant a tree every year for X number of years. I mean, that can't cost us that much. We thought of it last year. We just couldn't figure out how to execute it. But we certainly got the same feedback on natural shade as an opportunity.
One of the things mentioned, and I can share the websites with you or anyone who wants them. One of the things mentioned is, yes, there's high input up front for the first year to 3 years, but the savings from maybe not having as much mowing, or even with air conditioning, if you think about it, if you're overhanging a school, right, with trees. But the savings, even for maintenance, was significant after a few years. So I will see what I can find for you, share that.
And Director Ott, just to expand on that briefly, if the board remembers, we are in a review contract with an energy savings company. And so they're going to be bringing to the board internal solutions, but also some external things that are not necessarily, not exactly what you're saying, but they are about bringing efficiency outside. And so I think that can naturally kind of work into that and our planning moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anything further on facilities? So the feedback that I'm getting is we are prepared for next week, the school's reopening. We are good to go. Usually at the end of August, beginning of September is when sometimes our schools get hot, and we hear from some of the schools that the air conditioning is failing. All of the stuff that we need to take care of in that end, and make sure that our schools, like what Superintendent Gall shared about Jackson, are facilities-wise, they are spick and span and ready to start for the.
Absolutely, and I'll let Chris Odom, or Miss Odom, Chief Odom, excuse me, share when she comes up specific to that. But in terms of capital projects, we do have a few that are going to be a photo finish, but they will be finished. And any that are not finished, we have a strategy. So we have a few gym floors that they weren't going to be ready in time. Yeah. And so we weren't okay to say like, well, we'll just leave a concrete floor in there. We have a temporary floor that the principals are on board with that will go in and support that and make sure that there's no issues. So we won't have anything that isn't planned for that is affecting day one.
Thank you.
So let's provide the spreadsheet to the board members, and if they have any questions, they can ask them next week at the work session.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay. Moving along.
Okay. Oop. All right, enrollment. Okay, as Superintendent Gall stated, he asked to do a quick enrollment update. And so what I will say first is, please know that these numbers are very preliminary. There's no kids in school yet, and the enrollment office is its busiest the end of July and early part of August. But what we were able to do is do a year-over-year comparison. We took a moment in time. We took August 1st as an example, and we compared where we were last year in terms of enrollment, in terms of new enrollments, in terms of withdrawals, and we compared it to this year. And so what we see is that overall, you can see we're up about 403 students in elementary, so that's about 4%. That's great. What I will say is every piece of positive data on this was also occurring last school year. So that to me makes me a little more comfortable feeling that it is going to be valid and occur. So as an example, last year we grew over 300 elementary students from October count to the end of the year. So this is a continuation of that. And then you'll see some specific schools that we called out. Obviously, these are not all schools that are seeing an enrollment gain right now, but they are the ones that are more significant, also the ones that are connected to strategy. And again, every one of those schools who is called out did see enrollment gain last year from October count to the end of the school year, and this is now extending on that. So we're seeing strong enrollment growth in our elementary, and right now we're steady in middle and high school. Now, there might be a large surplus of new enrollments next week. There might be large withdrawals. But obviously, as we get to seeing kind of what we typically say whites of the eyes, we will firm up those numbers and continue to share those with the board. But this is just a kind of a point in time in where we're seeing. And right now, the trend is positive overall.
I think the noteworthy piece here is the North and the West schools, particularly for the advertising that we did, specifically some kind of geofencing advertising that we were able to do and very specific messaging into some of those schools. A lot of the other thing that I think is worth commenting here is that there are some preschool carryovers. Chipeta and Scott both opened preschools last year, and so that is an automatic feed that comes. One, there's more kids in the building because there's preschool, and then secondly, those kids retaining them into kindergarten has been a positive feed for us. The Tesla Middle School, I think right now we're in the upper 20s. We had targeted, I think 35 was the original number. We're fairly confident by count day we will certainly exceed that to already have 24 enrolled. To Director Ott's question for school opening next week is exciting for us there.
Yeah, specific to Tesla Middle School, they did see their largest grade last year was 8th grade, so obviously that doesn't continue at Tesla Middle School. Their enrollment is on par with where it normally is at this time in the summer. What we all know about Tesla is a responsive school, and so their enrollment will grow as the school year progresses, especially if we're able to use the new venue as a way to attract new families from outside of the system. Enrollment is tricky to predict, but I feel very comfortable saying the enrollment at Tesla at the end of the year will be higher than it is right now because they are responsive to the system.
Thank you. One quick question, either for you, Dr. Comfort, or more importantly for Superintendent Gall. This is a great initial projection that you have presented, but with this comes the challenge that we ensure that some of these schools like Scott, which has 73, or Chipeta, which is 53, are adequately staffed, so we don't have that classroom ratio, student-teacher
Right.
classroom.
So we went this year with an aggressive projection on enrollment to get the staffing up front. And so we had a couple of conversations on that in the spring, which was especially this year, because of decreasing enrollment averaging, we get a teacher at a fifth of the cost of the teacher. So we projected adding kids, 500 total to the system. Right now, that chalk line at 403 means we're right about exactly where we need to be. But what we said was Scott is going to grow. And so this is the number from last August to this August. So Scott is on par to meet the projection of the aggressive number we put. So they're staffed to meet that number. Now we have had to add, and remember there are MLO positions that I hold centrally to meet unknown circumstances. So last week we had to add another teacher to Trailblazer because music to your ears, Dr. Melpackham, having asked those questions for a long time, how do we get families to Trailblazer? We have more families to Trailblazer than we had projected for the staff, and we were able to allocate an FTE for them to make that hire. But we were very specific that we wanted to hire teachers on the front end because we still, and you'll hear it from the area soups as they come up, we're not at 100% staffed. And so, but we have the staff right now that meets the number of students that we have. And so to be constantly waiting for the student to show up to then have to be responsive, we flipped that model this year that said, this is the number we believe we can get, and then we have the staff to support them.
Perfect. That's great to hear. I remember when I first got on the board in 2019 and 2020, this was a challenge, and there was a committee that looked at the numbers, and then a new teacher isn't added till October. In the meantime, we have fourth grade or fifth grade class size at 35, and that's a good problem to have, but when a parent hears that the class size is 35, they end up pulling their student. And I am glad that we are more responsive in making sure that the class size.
Yeah, and so we've been consistent for over a year now, which is the number one lever to change for student achievement is access to high quality instruction. We believe in our instructional staff. We have invested incredibly on multi-tiered and multi-module professional development. Anybody who was able to participate in the plan that Tamara put together in partnership with Ed Insights and others over this summer has us moving in that direction. We're very confident that we will have the strongest instructors in El Paso County, if not in the state, and that will be the number one lever that drives student achievement. Leaning in and staffing the building has to be the first thing that we commit to. If we constantly play being passive and waiting for choice as the action, then we're always going to be chasing our tail, which we believe has been one of the challenges for the last 10 years. So we've been concentrating on the word choice when we have our larger meetings in K-12 and every time we're talking to our staff directly. Make District 11 your choice. Choose to send your students to District 11 because you will receive the highest quality instruction available in El Paso County. Don't come here just because we put a new field at Coronado and Doherty. Come here because this is the place where your children will make up the lost learning and will get the experiences that you heard already briefed tonight. That happens because we have incredible, powerful staff. That staff goes from certified staff to ESP to paraprofessionals in the classroom to administrators. All of that works together. We are coming to a place where our work groups are coming together around the strategy and not pulling apart for what they did or didn't get because of the strategy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that enrollment update. For the board, these are preliminary numbers. It looks positive, at least at elementary schools and middle and high schools we are. At this time, at least at the same level as we were. We will have a better idea in a couple of weeks. Maybe we can get an update in middle of September or something like that. When, like you say, butts and seats, white suffice. When you can see that, you can come back and provide.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. All right, I'm going to have the area soups come forward. So this is our Get to Zero program. Next week, you all will get a deep dive into HR, into staffing, which will look a lot more specifically at numbers, numbers, at retention, at turnover. But what I asked is each one of the area soups to present how they got to the terminology we used was getting to zero. We wanted 0 vacancies. That's when we knew that you obligate the money based upon the FTE and the budget. Our job is to then go staff that. The goal is to get to 0. The goal is to be 100% staffed all the time. We know that is an unrealistic reality just due to personal circumstances in people's lives. You have to move, maybe you have a reason that you're not, employed, staying with the district. We're constantly seeking to get to 100%. Last year at mid-year, we had $20 million of vacancy fund, because we were slightly over budgeted and we were certainly understaffed. So we're trying to lower that number of what is over budgeted, and we're trying to raise that number of what is fully staffed. So to Sherry to lead us in this conversation.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent Gall. I want to preface this much like Dr. Comfort said with enrollment numbers by saying that these numbers also update and change all the time. At the last update to this slide deck that you'll see, the area superintendent team worked on this last night, and there have been updates to it today that we'll talk to. There'll be updates tomorrow, there'll be updates the next day as we continue moving this forward. I really also want to say that our schools, especially those who are either at 0 vacancies or getting close to, or even those schools that are still working to get there, the successes that they are seeing are a direct result of hustle, for lack of a better word. Principals are doing a lot of work to get great quality candidates in their schools. The days of us posting a job, hoping for candidates, interviewing, and being able to choose from 15 candidates for one position are just simply not what we see anymore. And so we know that principals are not just attending job fairs, but are working the crowd at the job fairs. They are taking the list of alternative candidates from BOCES and from Aspire and cold calling those candidates every day to say, do you have a placement yet? I need a science teacher. What can we do to get you to this school? They're calling lists of long-term substitutes and retirees to say, do you want to teach part-time? Do you want to come in and help some of our brand new teachers be successful? They're looking at the staff that they have and thinking about how do we creatively use the people we've already hired to meet the needs of our students. And much as we've heard with several other presentations tonight, that may not look the same as it looked 2 years, 3 years, even last year. But they are getting this work done so that we have great teachers in front of every single student. So in the southeast area, I have 6 schools that are either at 0 or getting very close to. And of these 6, I'd really like to highlight Wilson. Wilson is a brand new administrative team this year, both a new principal and a new assistant principal. And we know that many times when that happens, we see large staff turnover. Staff follow a principal to a new building. They are sometimes a little bit fearful about what might change. But Sheridan Hirsch and Lindsay Jimenez have done great work at getting Wilson staffed like it needs to be, even in a title school, even in a highly challenging school, getting staff in the door, getting them what they need to be successful, and making sure that every child has a qualified teacher in the classroom starting day 1. We also have some schools in the southeast region that we are working to intentionally support so that we can help get them to 0. There's 2 that I want to highlight tonight. The first is Galileo. You met Galileo's new principal earlier this evening, Julia Scott. Julia has been working tirelessly with her 2 assistant principals all summer long. Their entire math department turned over at Galileo this year. You may hear that we don't have a math department at Galileo, and that is not true. We are using a combination of several strategies. We have a retired teacher coming back part-time. We have reassigned an intervention teacher, and that teacher cares about the success of Galileo students, understood the need for a shift in assignment for this year, and was very willing to step in and do something different, even at the 11th hour. And then, of course, we're looking to alternative licensure teachers all of whom will be supported through our area superintendent model, central office supports, curriculum and instruction, because as we get teachers with less experience in the classroom, their needs are different as well, and we want to ensure that they're successful too. At Mitchell, hiring a full English language learner staff has been challenging, at least for the past 2 years, probably longer than that. And so we've pieced together there a lot of opportunities as well. We have a retired teacher who is actually in Peru doing his own version of study abroad. He'll be coming back and supporting our non-English proficient NEP students at Mitchell. We are rewriting schedules for those students to ensure that their ELL class is scheduled first and that no student who needs those services goes without. We've taken a bit of FTE and converted it to ESP support in the ELL world. Sometimes that's a little easier to hire. The licensure and experience requirements are not quite the same. And it's a little easier sometimes with our ESP to do push-in supports in the classroom. So instead of a pull-out opportunity, it may be a class where a general education teacher is teaching an English class, but with the support of an ELL aide in the room who is providing in-the-moment support for students. I really need to shout out the CLDE ELL department at Coronado. Those 3 teachers have absolutely stepped up. We are meeting with them to figure out how we might utilize them. At least one of them is part-time at Coronado, interested in possibly expanding to full-time and teaching at both schools. And thanks to a common high school schedule, we're able to do that this year with a minimum of logistical hair pulling. And then in terms of continuing to support push-in programming and services for our ELL students, we will be providing professional development every 2 weeks to every teacher at Mitchell, thanks to Nicole Girardin and her team in our CLDE office, so that every teacher at Mitchell who will have students learning to speak the English language in their classroom are well prepared to meet the needs of those students. We have some needs that have popped up recently at Penrose and McAuliffe and are finding some great solutions through retired teachers, some long-term guest teachers, and again, some staff reassignments to help make sure, again, every child, qualified teacher in their classroom starting day 1. And so with that, I'm going to hand it off to Scott Mendelsberg.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Real quick on ours, we are down, I think, in the opportunity schools to just 2 vacancies. So I'll just jump to celebrations. We talked about Tesla Middle School a little bit earlier tonight, and a couple things I want to bring up about that. One, and I know Jen left, but I can't echo enough how great Jen Hotelling has been. Hannah White, Linda Sanders, all the people at Tesla. It was a big deal for them to have to kind of give up their spots and all that. They couldn't have been more professional about it. Jen Hotelling has just been amazing, and I think we're scheduled for a great launch there. On top of that, I really want to make sure that people know kind of the effort that's going there. Chief Bailey and her team have been amazing with all of these things. But I'll tell you a quick story. Del Garrick lost a parent. He's on Chief Bailey's team, lost a parent a couple days ago and was calling Principal Miller the next morning to make sure that he was getting everything he needed. So that kind of commitment has been really just something to see and something to be a part of. And last thing I'll say, and I'll turn it over to my colleagues, is to Dr. Comfort's point. In the last 3 days, we have added 5 families to Tesla Middle School from outside the district. The school hasn't even opened yet. So as you remember when we talked about this and you guys were generous enough to go along with the idea and the vision of this, part of the vision was because of where we could situate them, we could draw from other schools or from other districts, and because they don't have something similar. And so in the last 3 days, 5 new families. So thank you very much. Geez, I didn't do that.
Yeah, you're good. Oh, no, northeast. Sorry, Darren.
I got aggressive. Congratulations.
Good evening, Board. Want to start off by praising our HR team led by Chief Bailey and the hiring fairs. What a smashing success for Fremont Elementary School. A few weeks ago, we had 3 teacher vacancies. And Tracy Squires was able to hire 2 teachers from that hiring fair a couple of weeks ago, and then picked up another one to finish things off there to start the school year. So very proud of that effort. With Sabin Middle School, right now we have 1 math opening that we are looking to fill with a long-term substitute, someone actually who taught at Sabin last year. So we're really excited to bring that person back. And then with special education, we've been working with Valerie Skates to help with the caseload management until we can get one of those positions filled. That particular vacancy just popped open about a week ago. So kind of late in the game, but Dan's done a great job being creative and innovative and reaching out to the supports in our area.
Can you go back to
you bet. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
Okay. I just want to call out Rudy. Julie was the first school to get to 0. And so hats off to what it means to have an established leader with a clear vision over a long period of time. She got wrapped up tight there, and Rudy was our first school to get to 0. So
absolutely. Yeah, and just really quick before I wrap then, just with all of our schools that are at 0 or nearing 0, not just for the Northeast, but in all of our areas, really speaks to leadership. And people want to be part of a winning culture. And when you establish that, success breeds success. So a big shout out to all of our buildings who have done a great job over the summer here so we can be ready to go first day of school. Thank you. Would you like for me to click? So you go back one.
Thank you. Good evening. Welcome back. As Sherry said, we are frantically working with our principals as evidenced by our notes. They are working very hard. And I think to both of all of our colleagues mentioning, HR, procurement, budget, SPED team, counseling department, CLDE team, CNI team, it's been all hands on deck for staff investment. It really has. Nonstop. I was talking to Dr. Willis last night at 8 o'clock via text. He was updating me on some hiring situations for North and Palmer, so I know they're working tirelessly under Chief Bailey and everyone to pull together as much as possible. The central area started at about 42 plus in the middle of July, and if my numbers are correct, as of 8:30, we're below 15 right now tonight. We're excited because as you can see on the Get to Zero list and the nearing Get to Zero list, we have some seasoned veterans with the strong cultures that Darren mentioned. But we also have some new faces that are also leading very prominently. Columbia, A-plus programming, they're down to 1 SPED mental health vacancy. And MAN, as you can see, is on that list as well on the first page. And for those of us that remember, last year they were running at about 14 throughout the year, and they're literally down to 2.6 with interviews pending this week. So we're very excited about that progress for our veterans as well as our new leaders. Thank you, Melissa. Page 2, please. And on this list, I'm very excited to report a lot of these have been updated literally tonight. Adams has all of their grade level positions filled with current staff or long-term subs. Twain is down to 1 kindergarten vacancy within grade levels. North has 4 of their 5s pending, so they have about 1 left to fill that they'll be using their IB coordinator. Palmer's excited with their current plan to do it in-house, but they're down to 2 SPED teachers and 1 drama ELA teacher, which they plan on using either long-term subs or internal coverage plan. And then finally up there, Rogers with a new leader in the dual language immersion program. And I do want to put in a plug because I found out today as I visited, they have 18 kindergartners enrolled in the DLI program. Yeah, so good data to start the year as we move forward. But on their behalf, they're down to a 0.5 ELL teacher, and they just got an applicant last night. When she woke up this morning, it was in her inbox from the HR team. So we're optimistic there as well. So thanks for your time. And I think, Darren, that leaves you. No, save the best for last.
I don't know about that, but if you look here, you can see. I think the West Side schools are the only schools that don't have anyone at 0. But I am pleased to say that all these schools nearing 0 are as close as possible, with candidates in the hopper. Just running through HR, and HR is committed and has promised and has delivered on, and will get these candidates in buildings by the time school starts. So that's where we're at on celebrations. In terms of needs on the west side, if you really look here at what's happening, you've got candidates in process at both Holmes and West, and both Holmes and West both need a special education teacher, and that's really the biggest issue on the west side schools right now. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And there is one more slide. Highest need vacancy areas. I can do it.
Okay, great, thank you.
ELL, counselor, math, science, and special education. I mean, thank you. I can do that. All right.
Any questions on the hiring for Darren Smith? I think we've all got that clear. Sorry. We do not have specific job type bonuses. It could be an area for us to discuss next year. We went hard on overall compensation. You'll see those slides next week that will show the targeted area for what we had called the overlay. Very strong response. I think somewhere about 60 or 65% of our new hires have fallen into that overlay. So clearly the market has responded to that. Does the market respond to specific area market incentives? We are running about the same number of vacancies per capita as District 20, and they were very aggressive on some of these areas. So I don't know if they're having the same counselor problem that we're having, but they had, what was it, a $12,000 bonus, Phoebe? Is that what they advertised for counselors? We'll have to get the information to see where they actually landed on that.
Thank you.
What is that?
It's roughly about 100 right now. It goes up a little bit, it goes down a little bit. We ran last year. The number we ran was 86. Again, that was kind of our thing. So we're hoping to be below 86 by next week. But again, we did add staff to the budget this year. We added 34 CLDE ELL positions. 34 or 38 was on the PBDA.
Yeah.
Right. We did add, and we again had enrollment projections that were higher than we were before. So we were adding teachers to the budget for that. So what we are feeling right now, and hopefully the conveyance from the area soups, is we feel good with the staff that we have. I hate every time we have to tell an interventionist that we need them to cover a class, but we got to cover classrooms first. We'll get those positions filled that we need filled, but in the task force work that we're leading this year on staffing allocations, we have got to come to the board during the budget build next year with a clearer idea of what is the number of staff required to get to the goals that we want. So just basic math, we're roughly 21,000 kids, and if we run a 25-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, that's 840 teachers. We are an 1,800 certified staff district. So somewhere in that basic math of how many kids in a classroom, there's something that we're completely missing. We know what it is. A small elementary school at less than 250 kids needs at least 10 teachers. When you think about one per grade, one per class, but the math doesn't work. If you have 180, then you have an 18-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio. And we also know that high schools cost much more than a 25-to-1. You have how many different fundamental departments of which you need to deliver, and there are specific certifications for that. So we're doing that work, and the goal is not to reduce staff. We are not doing a staffing allocation review to reduce the number of staff. We're doing it to understand where and why it is that we make the investments that we make. So we want to be crystal clear on that. We're not trying to reduce staff to reduce the budget. We had more budget than we needed last year. We over budgeted for the number of positions that we could fill. Want to bring that number down to the exact need and get to the strong work that we're getting with HR. It's going unsung here, but the work that we did last year on process improvement in HR is paying off. The other piece that never gets brought up, and make sure, Chief Bailey, that we include it next week, is the work that Sasha's doing on alternative licensure. We constantly solve the unsolvable when Sasha gets a hold of it. And she's like, oh, I can solve that. You take these two classes, you do that, and then we'll get you your license. And then we're a place where people can find that solution instead of get the no. So anyway, we're excited. We feel ready. Chief Odom is going to talk about our ESP
Dr.
position.
Nelson, you had a question.
Could you repeat, did you say that 60 to 65% of our new hires at this time are falling under that window where we raised
where we
the
made the
salary
raises
for
up to
starting?
50,000, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep. So I know the last number I looked at is step one teachers, we were at 59 or 60 out of 140 overall teachers. And then that overlay goes to down to like step 5 or 6.
Yep.
And over as well. But we've brought in, and it's also not happening here, but we'll give an update next week. I've asked, Chief Acevedo has put together a direct set of promise supports for every new to teaching teacher in the system. Okay. So we have a 3-part promise, which will be double observation opportunities for them, not evaluative, but observation and coaching, subject matter PD on their area of expertise, and then collaborative planning time as well. So what we're doing is we're making a bet that says, if you are new to teaching and you've joined District 11, you will get supports like nowhere else that you have gotten it. Because we want 85 to 90% of them to be here in the following years to grow and commit their career as educators right here in District 11.
That's fantastic. Good job, guys.
And thanks for that feedback too. And if you have time, it would be interesting to compare how that teachers coming into the school district compares to prior years, if they fit in the same overlay, or this year we see more coming in at that level.
I'll make one more play for us getting a brand new ERP in the next couple of years. Hats off to the data team to be able to pull the data that we're pulling. But what we have right now is we have an antiquated HR system that is best managed through IT. So when you want that information, you would think you go to HR to get that information. But it's like getting an MS-DOS prompt on your computer. You got to have a computer science major. So we go to John's team to pull that type of data. And then still, because you're not pulling it from a Windows-based solution, HR knows the information because they do the hiring and they do the placing. But it's difficult to pull those type of reports because we're basically working with an abacus when you're asking for disaggregated data.
Yeah.
So again, I will make one more play that if there's extra money in the budget at mid-year, that the Board of Education says, let's launch this district into the 21st century with a modernized HR system.
Dr. Jorgensen.
Yeah, just to wrap this up, I apologize, but I think the point needs to be made. And not that we have any teachers probably watching a board meeting when they are probably working in their classrooms and prepping for the school year. But, you know, flashback a couple years ago, we knew we couldn't fill vacancies, so we upped sub pay to try to cover you and help you be less stressed. Now this year, I think, you know, it should be evidence and saying from the mountaintops that we are, I mean, just to hear every one of you, of the 5 of you over there, say that this is on your radar, it's priority, we're filling positions, we're hustling, we're texting principals are out there hustling and grinding, because they know that when we have a building that's filled, we have staff that are less stressed because they're not worried about being called to cover a class. And so just a kudos to the board, kudos to Mike and his team, Mr. Gall, familiarity, to slowly getting this fixed, eyes on it, and seeing the intentional push is so appreciated by me, and every teacher should see this somewhere and go, man, the admin, the board, they have our back, they want us less stressed, they want us prepared, they want positions filled so that we can do our jobs. So just wanted to make that clear tonight.
Chief Odom.
Well, welcome back. I don't understand how summer goes so fast, and the school year doesn't seem to go quite as fast, but welcome back. You know, earlier a student said, you know, it was difficult for me to have to immerse myself in that situation, but it forced me to learn. So being uncomfortable really produced a positive outcome for that student. And that's kind of how operations has been this summer. We've been implementing some new processes and procedures, forced to make some change, and it's really turning out to be a very positive outcome. So this up here, these are some pictures that I've taken for some welcome back for some of our areas. Tonight, I'm going to talk about ESP that are supporting schools, so our school-based ESP group, which is primarily bus drivers, food service, school security, and our custodial. So I'll start out with, we were very successful. Overall, I'm going to tell you I feel much better starting off this year than we did last year. I am going to give you some details, but I feel very confident we're going to have a better start to the school year. I think the two key reasons, we were very successful in our June job fair. We had a lot of success, so thank you, Chief Bailey and your team, the HR team. And then I think the salaries were a big draw, so thank you, Board of Education. So from a transportation bus driver perspective, as you recall at the end of last year, we knew we needed to adopt a portfolio offering that what I call right-sized our transportation offerings to the ridership, the number of students for routes. I want to give a shout out to CJ McCampbell and Kevin McCafferty in our transportation office. They have embraced what I'm calling a portfolio approach to putting us in a much better position this year. Even though we have a national bus driver shortage, we are thinking of how we can change routes, how we can change the size of the transportation vehicle, and how we offer things in a more planned manner. So our portfolio approach currently includes 56 yellow bus routes and dedicated sedan service. The business model that sedan services really thrives on and works well is for some of the special ed students, the McKinney-Vento students, and some of these small routes that are under like 10 students. So we have assigned that. We call it on our maps the contracted zone. That's for the sedan service. We did order those 8 activity buses through Fund Balance Initiative that you all gave us last year. I think we should all go into the chassis building business because we ordered those in March and they're due to be delivered in May of '24. And those are stuck in chassis building scenarios. We've also ordered 3 new small yellow buses that will not require CDL licensure, so that's going to be adding to our portfolio. We're trying to find new ways. Again, we'll be lucky to get those by June of next year. So in the meantime, we are going to be using the couple activity buses that we have. We're going to be doing some design thinking strategies to figure out how we can meet other needs, but we feel confident that we have 57 drivers plus 13 that are going to be starting soon that'll meet our 56 routes. That's not including back office staff. So you should feel confident. I feel confident. We're going to start off well. The goal is not to have to use our office staff to get there. Finally, I wanted to give you feedback on field trips. Although that's not our primary mission, last year there was a lot of guidance and feedback that we have to find new strategies to support field trips. So the team is working to offer different, working with HR to have a substitute pool. This could include retirees, people that just have CDL licenses that want to just work part-time. And Chris Knoll is helping with some of this out-of-the-box thinking to support some of his field trips solely for athletics. So I feel, and you should feel, wonderful. In our food service arena, we're about 17% short, so we have about 300 positions. They're not full-time FTEs, but there's about 300 positions. So we're short about 17%. We anticipate we're going to be able to cover that. It's not a sustainable long-term coverage. We're working to fill those vacancies. HR is working to help us. One of the noted concerns, there's only 2 elementary schools that food service has concerns with, and that's Chipeta and king, but we know we're going to be able to support them with rotating roving support services. Again, it's not a long-term sustainable approach, but we feel confident we'll get them going at the start of the year. The most important thing is that we're going to be kicking off the new free Healthy Meals for All program this year. That picture up there is from our Welcome Back food service that was yesterday, day before yesterday, and people are excited. So we're happy to kick that off. We're looking forward to a very successful year, and we'll keep you posted on how things are moving. School security, which is the campus security officers, those are at the middle school and high school. We had a welcome back kickoff meeting. That's Dave Allison in that bottom left-hand corner, welcoming back our campus security officers. They're in great shape. So I'm not worried about them. One of the wonderful things that they are implementing this year is they are also shifting the model that transportation or the custodial implemented, where we are shifting supervision from school principals to a more centralized regional approach. And that is working well. We're able to have control on trainings and help take something off principals' plates so they can focus on their primary mission. So Dave's in a good place, and then I'm going to wrap this up with our custodial model. You know, that has been a lot of work. I cannot tell you the hours that Mark Miller and Brian Kelly have put into that. It's going to be a huge success. Now, it sounds like a lot of vacancies, but out of 185, we have 17 vacancies. We're still getting augmented support from our ABM contract. We implemented a scorecard, so they're tracking what they're doing. They're implementing the same standards across the district. We have trainings that are consistent, chemicals that are consistent. We're collaborating with principals. We're getting out there and we're seeing and talking, making sure everybody understands what's going on. You can see there's lots of pictures I can send you, but the inside of the school buildings are school ready. That is way far ahead from where we were last year. Last year, we were down about 70 people. In food service last year, we were down over 60. So we are in a much better place. But the custodial staff is working with the area custodial supervisors who are going to have a regionalized approach to working with principals and area superintendents that'll work with building managers and the building techs. So I'm going to pause because I've said a lot, but overall, I feel that we're going to be able to start out in a much better place than last year. School ready. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you for that update too. It looks very promising and positive. One quick question from me, and I see Director Bankus has a question too. That custodial contract that we have with that, have they all been filled up? I think it was 35, wasn't it? 35.
The contract is for 35 positions. Yeah. It ebbs and flows every day. 3 days ago it was 31, now it's at 28, I believe. So yes, we're keeping that up through the year until we don't need that extra staff. But yes, we still have support. They're augmenting our custodial services.
Great.
And that is absolutely helping.
Perfect. That's what we want to hear. Make sure that our schools are ready and ready to go next week. And Commander Allison did a phenomenal job in that picture that is there. I was standing in the back of the room listening to him. So our priority is to make sure that our students are safe, our staff are safe in school, and the people in that room are the ones that make that happen. Thank you. Director Bankus.
Yes, I wanted to ask, tell me again what that number 185 represents? 185 and then 17 vacancies. Would you?
So in our custodial workforce, last year we did a restructure. We turned in vacant positions that we used to have 212.5 in our entire custodial team. That's building managers, building techs, building mechanics, the whole shebang. We attrited 24.5, which gives us 185 positions. We're 17% vacant. So we're in a good place.
Okay, thank you.
Last year, we were down 70.
Seeing no further questions, Superintendent Gall.
We're ready to open schools a week from tonight.
We are
We'll be,
ready.
celebrating our first day of the 23-24 school year.
We are ready.
So we thank the board, our staff, particularly our community. It's been a great summer, and we are super eager to get back to school.
And as I think Director Art said in our board member reports, there will be several open houses. We welcome our parents and families to come and visit our schools, see all the upgrades that have happened in our school campuses, the new floors, the new gym, the new outdoor areas, all those things. So
The inside of the buildings are immaculate, and tomorrow we're having our welcome back for our bus drivers if you have the opportunity.
and to get to this stage, there is so much planning, so much thinking, so many people working behind the scenes, countless hours. In your team, all the other teams out there, Brandon's team, Dr. Comfort's team, and all the area superintendent's team. So thank you for all the work. Even though summer is a slow time, it's not really a slow time for
No.
all of you guys. You guys are making sure our schools are ready. And
I think literally the grass was growing faster than they could get mowed.
yeah.
But they worked hard, and they did reach out and get some outsourced help to get it there.
Yeah. So thank you. We look forward to visiting schools and seeing all the phenomenal work that you guys have put in next week. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Superintendent Gall, again, I want to thank you for providing this comprehensive report. We are 9 o'clock into the meeting. It's been like 3 hours of celebrations of what has happened during the summer bridge and the study abroad program, and then providing a comprehensive report about where we are with enrollment, where we are with vacancies, where we are with the facilities. Just providing the board this kind of comprehensive report. I can't remember even during the pandemic years we getting this kind of back to school comprehensive report. Thank you for providing that. Moving on, consent items, Director
No,
Bank.
we have,
we do.
Sorry, item 3, Regulation DER.
Okay.
I'll let you announce it.
Okay, regulation grants, post-award expenditure disbursement report. Go ahead.
Yeah, I asked Dr. X to bring this forward, and that's coming forward as well. It's not a policy. We're choosing to do this in keeping transparency. It's a change to a regulation that cleans us up and puts us in the right space that we want to be. We could probably not have brought it forward. That's no vote. But because we want to make sure everybody understands the major issues that we're dealing with and the strategies we're bringing to bear to solve them, Dr. X will present.
Yeah, initially when I looked at the agenda a week or so back, this was under non-action. So it's moved from non-action because it doesn't need formal board approval into superintendent's report. To you, so special report, so you don't have to be at the tail end of today's meeting.
Still feels like 11. So, still close, yeah. So, good evening, President Milpacum, Superintendent Gall, members of the board. Regulation DER-2, time and effort, is being revised to update internal controls impacting the collection of time and effort certification documentation. This documentation is required to comply with federal law and was identified as needing revision during the single audit that occurred last fall. The current regulation was put in place prior to the COVID outbreak. Since that time, the district has been granted CARES Act and American Relief Funds, ESSER funds, which have enabled the district to allocate a large amount of additional FTE. Updating the regulation will enable the district to accurately track, document, and charge the amount of time personnel spend performing federally funded activities. Although a regulation, as Superintendent Gall mentioned, the revisions are being shared tonight for transparency. There is no change to the board policy. And Director of Grants, Ms. Bass, is here this evening if you have any questions.
Any questions on this? Seeing none, you didn't take the allocated 10 minutes. So that moves us
the
faster.
average. I was going with the average.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for being here too. Director Bankus, can you please make the motion to adopt the consent items?
I move that the Board of Education adopt all consent items as designated in the agenda. The consent items are C2, approval of June 14, 2023, regular meeting minutes. C3, approval of personnel recommendations, August 9, 2023.
Second. Moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma? Director Melpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Director Loma stepped out, so he didn't vote remotely, did he?
No, I
No,
just,
okay.
I'm
So,
not present at vote.
The consent item passes. Action items, there are no contract awards, there are no budget transfers, appropriations, and FTE approvals. Resolution 2024-1, intent to participate in the 2023 coordinated election. Director Nelson, can you please make the motion for action item D3?
I move that the Board of Education approve Resolution 2024-1, official notice of the intent to participate in the 2023 coordinated election and designation of Phoebe Bailey as the designated election official.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Superintendent Gall.
Chief Bailey?
Good evening. President Melpacum, Superintendent Gall, and Board Directors. Here we go again. I remember chasing some of you down during COVID to give you your documents so that you could be ready to take the oath of office in December. So we are looking forward to that activity again this upcoming December.
Any questions or comments on this resolution? This is, for all intents and purposes, standard procedure at this time of the year. Just announcing our intent to participate in the elections, which is necessary because there are several board directors' positions that will be open. Director Ott.
Thank you. This is kind of a tangent to the resolution, and that is the board had discussed running a bond, which could have been part of this election. And it just feels like that just kind of dissipated, that we never said yes, we never said no officially. And obviously it's, to me anyway, it seems too late for this year. But I appreciate that some work was done for that and that there was a plan. I don't know what happened to it in the end, but I appreciate you standing up and being our designated official again. And we'll see you at the back end of that election. Thanks.
Do you have a response to that, Superintendent Gall, about the work
Well,
regarding
the
the
work
bond?
continues.
The work
So the academic support plan work continues. We will be back to the board, I believe, next week in work session with some opportunities on how the board can think about recapitalizing. I do not believe that there's been a thumbs up or a thumbs down by the board.
No.
So I default that to the board if they will seek to make a determination of what they choose to do or not do, probably after next week's presentation.
Yeah, there is a presentation that is coming up next week about the academic support plan, and the board can certainly provide feedback at that point in time. The work hasn't certainly fallen off. It is still happening, and at some point in time, the board will have to chime in and say, is this the time to go for bond or COPs that we talked about? Seeing no further questions, roll call.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma? Director Melpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The resolution 2024-1 has been adopted. Moving on to the next resolution, which is call for nominations. Director Daniels, can you please make the motion for action item D4?
I move that the Board of Education approve Resolution 2024-2, call for nominations for the coordinated election to be held on November 7, 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Chief Bailey.
Okay, there will be 4 vacant seats in which Colorado Springs School District 11 will be participating on November 7th, 2023. Melissa Olson and I will be working very closely together to make sure that this process runs very smoothly for our district. As soon as our staff are back in buildings, I will be sending out the simple do's and don'ts for how we are to conduct ourselves during this process. And I look forward to your sit down and meet and greet for those that are going to participate in the election, to provide the additional information for them.
When is that?
You all have.
What are you talking?
The meeting.
Oh, we're still trying to figure that agenda out. It'll be in the next couple of weeks. So, any questions or comments? Let me see. Yeah, go ahead. Can you?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Director.
Thank you. Just a note for anyone thinking of running CASB, the Colorado Association of School Boards does have some webinars on the topic of how to, what's involved in being a school board director and useful things along those lines. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions from the board? So, to our community, this is a wonderful opportunity for our community members to step up into this role and provide their civic responsibility, volunteering to serve on the board. So if you are invested in our D11 schools and you want to serve in this capacity, please do pick up the packet. I think the packet you can pick up the packet today. So pick up the packets and go through the process and set aside your Wednesday evenings if you get elected for the next 4 years till 11 o'clock in the night or however it is the board goes. But it is a wonderful opportunity to serve our community. So with that, roll call, please.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma?
Yeah.
Is that an aye?
Is that,
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. So the resolution was adopted. Appointment of staff assistants to the Board of Education. Director Loma, can you please make the motion for action item D5?
Yes, I can. Let me find it. Oh. I move that the board, wait, am I on the right one? I am.
D5.
I move the Board of Education appoint Dr. Brandon Comfort as Assistant Board Treasurer and Melissa Olson as Assistant Board Secretary.
Second.
Moved and seconded. This is again standard procedure by the board that we do that at this time, and Dr. Comfort gets an additional title along with this. He's the Assistant Board Treasurer. So, seeing no questions on this, roll call, please.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it, and the motion has been adopted. With that, there are no non-action items on the agenda today. Future agenda items, requests for new agenda items from board members. Let me turn this off. Go ahead, if you have future agenda item requests. Okay, seeing none. Director Ott.
I just slipped my hand right over there and got it in. Just as the board has just done this board self-evaluation, I wondered if you had a thought on the timeline for a retreat or when we would discuss the results.
Well, probably the current timeline that we are looking at is we have a 5th board meeting at the end of this month because August we have 5 weeks. So that is the board meeting that we are targeting for a work session or a retreat where Dr. Kalaki will discuss those self-evaluation
Okay,
results.
thank you.
Okay. Calendar review. Wednesday, August 16th, we have a work session, and we are still in the process of putting together the agenda. One of the things that will appear on the agenda is that there was a culture and climate survey done of central admin and ESP staff. Is that right, Dr. K? And so those results will be shared with the board. I'm not sure. We were initially looking at if state testing results would be available, but that's not going to be done on August 16th. So we may have to look at a future date on that. But you talked about the COP's discussion.
Yeah, we'll bring a certificate of purchase as an opportunity for recapitalization and a timeline associated with that.
Yep.
There'll also be a staffing, a deep dive into the staffing review over the last year.
Yeah. And academic support plan, will we be talking about that?
It's baked into the COP.
Okay. And August 23rd, we will have a regular board meeting. Most likely, we may have that candidate orientation or the talk that we are talking about on August 23rd. So with that, go ahead, Panchu.
It just dawned on me that I made a request in my board member comment, but do we need to get an official thumbs up for the board to then discuss it in the future? That I'm requesting we take time to figure out what our goals are for this school year, specific measurable goals.
Well, that can be a topic for the board retreat, August 30th, setting specific measurable goals. But I will, is there consensus on that from the board at Director Nelson's request?
My request to have specific measurable goals.
Are you saying to hold off until we do the retreat? Is that what you're saying?
I said like this would be August 30th would be the next date that we can do that.
Even the August 16th date, when you said the data wasn't available, would there be time on the 16th then?
It's a pretty packed agenda,
Okay.
and it's the first day of school.
Okay.
So we'll have some updates on what's happening there.
Okay.
Are you talking about the data being available on August 16th?
You mentioned that it wasn't going to be.
No,
so I
it
didn't
was
know if
not
that-
going to be available.
So I
That's
didn't
why
know
we-
if that would free up some time, but he's saying that there's already quite a bit
Yeah.
on that schedule.
And having the state testing data and then having the conversation around August 30th with the state testing data on the measurable goals, where we are as a district.
Yeah, that's a good
that
idea.
would fall into that same.
Okay, that's a good idea. I just feel like we're already behind. So.
Director Banks.
So I'm thinking that the board retreat would be our opportunity to set goals for this year. And in order to be able to do that, we need information, which means we need the data to figure out how well we did with the goals that we set and to measure ourselves against those stated goals at the beginning of the year. So if it's available, if the information is available on the 30th, then I think that would be a excuse me, a topic for the retreat as we pull together our where we've been, where we are now, and setting goals for where we are in the future. And for the two that you mentioned, I think that would fold very well into that kind of a conversation. So I would like to wait until we have that information in order to form a comprehensive plan moving forward, in light of the fact that we will also have potentially new members joining the board, so that we have direction when they come on.
Okay, so the state CMAS testing data will not be made public until August 17th. Is that right, Dr. K?
We have an update. You want to read the update, David?
Just hot off the press from CDE tonight. Not that I was checking my email during the meeting, but as it stands, growth data will be released August 14th. Preliminary school performance frameworks released August 21st. The embargo lifts August 17th, and that is when the state results are reported to the state board, and that's when the embargo lifts. So the 17th is when we can speak about it publicly.
Right.
So we should have broad brush strokes available for the board, but disaggregated data would probably come as a follow-on to your direction. So if you all thought 25% growth in ELA was your target, I would love to then be able to work that with our data that says that's statistically not realistic and come up with targets that are giving the board clear direction of where we think the district can go. But we believe that the end of August would be a good place because we should have broad brush information back from the state. We have a lot of internal data that we think can already feed some of this conversation, but we want to make sure we're evaluated against the bar that the state sets, not just what we're reporting internally.
Okay. So August 30th would be the earliest that we can schedule such a conversation with the data that Dr. K is talking about. And as far as the new board coming in December, that's their choice at that time to go back and revise some of these priorities. New board members sitting it's our duly elected responsibility right now to set the course at this point in time for the district and set that measurable goal. So we will work on August 30th. That would be the earliest if we can schedule it at that time. If not, it may be early September. Okay. I'll come back to you. Director Rod.
I was going to move to adjourn, but yes, so continue, carry on.
Okay. We are still in calendar review and stuff, so, okay, go ahead.
So I have a follow-up for Director Nelson, and that would be if you would send out a board email stating your 2 goals that you want us to consider and think about, that would be helpful.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. So we are done with that calendar review. So right now, from the board, what I see is a collective will for the board to have a board retreat. Would that be end of August? And the discussion at that time would be on specifically measurable goals for this year, where we stand as a district. And some of it was established in the superintendent performance plan as to what he would achieve after 1 year. We can evaluate where we are. And then the other thing would be the self-evaluation. And Dr. K should have some results for us at that point in time. Those would be the 2 major topics for that board retreat at this time. Okay? We will also probably at that same retreat look at the data, maybe a overall broad perspective.
We should be able to get the data to you in a broad brush before that.
Yeah.
So either as a work session prior to the board meeting on the 23rd, that would be the time. So we'll try and set that as a goal, at least a summary of what was reported and how that matches against where we are. We could do a short work session prior to the board meeting on the 23rd to get that for the board to then digest prior to the 30th.
We may also have that candidate orientation that night prior to the board meeting, so we got to figure out how that agenda all works out.
Okay.
May I have a motion to adjourn? I think Director Art was first on that list.
I move that the Board of Education adjourn.
Moved and seconded. Melissa, roll call, please.
Director Bankus?
Aye.
Director Daniels?
Aye.
Director Jorgensen?
Aye.
Director Loma?
Aye.
Director Malpacum?
Aye.
Director Nelson?
Aye.
Director Ott?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are officially adjourned at 9:22 p.m.
For a second.